It definitely shows your hand when you
Yeah. Jesus, these are.
CDBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
Anima Squad deploy. What's up, Doc?
I'll bring swift death. Impure fools.
Let's see what you're made of.
Stay still! I'm trying to shoot you. All right, now we're hopping. This mission's off to a good start.
Hey, Fishbones! Should we blow something up?
You might inconvenience people and hurt their feelings.
CDBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
Anima Squad deploy. What's up, Doc?
I'll bring swift death. Impure fools.
Let's see what you're made of.
Stay still! I'm trying to shoot you. All right, now we're hopping.
mission's off to a good start.
Hey, Fishbones, should we blow something up?
You might inconvenience people and hurt their feelings.
I'm in my bag like loose change, self-proclaimed hero like Bruce Wayne. Out the sight even if you bought new frames. All this talk about weight but got no gains. How you gonna do a sight with no aim? Marathon longevity is my lane. I get dark like under the duvet. And don't grow with a weak link like a broke chain. Self-ignorer when I was poorer. My struggle gave me a god flood of the Torah. I didn't stop me pleasuring somebody's daughter. My cup running over to the spills of the saucer. Call me true the author. My battle plans rapper terroristic torture. These hands can bend water. Boom boom exploring like Avatar Korra. Rhyme like nursery, still my style, you will reimburse me. Plus 30, big hands and they're sturdy. I'm Drew the first, I'm back like anniversary. I came back worthy, like I swam in lava till it no longer burns me. I walked the desert for my ego's perjury, working for that zone where you can't outwork me. I'm a big man, but I ain't 32. I came to the front line with like 32. I'm a Rex, that's a shout out to 32. I'm a danger and I play 32. I'm just so 20, 32. Ahead of my time, so I'm hard like broom. Flows the bomb like I shook the room. I stay lit like Christmas and hot like June.
Winning again, I won't stop till I'm winning again. Winning again, I won't stop till I win. It's cold outside and I thought I couldn't do it again. Winning again, I won't stop till I'm winning again. Winning again, I won't stop till I'm winning again. Winning again, I won't stop till I'm winning again. It's cold outside and I thought I couldn't do it again. Winning again, I won't stop till I'm winning again.
I'm a wall of danger. I'm addicted to the wild and nature. If you give me your heart, I'll break it. I've been known to lie. I've been known to lie. I was sitting all alone on the sidewalk when you caught me by surprise. I'm a lone wolf, I die by my own rules. I know when to follow my prey, and now it's right in front of me. Right in front of me. Right in front of me. I'm not of the mayhem. I would chase 100 more highs to trade. In it for chaos I'm creating. I've been known to lie. I've been known to lie. I was sitting all alone on the sidewalk when you caught me by surprise. I'm a lone wolf, I die by my own rules. I know when to follow my prey, and now it's right in front of me. It's right in front of me. It's right in front of me. Right in front of me.
Something about you, I can hide it. I fell for you from the start. Something about you, good things happen. I fell for you from the start. Something about you, something about you, something about you, something about you. Once in a lifetime, I love falling from the stars. With grace, our mistakes, you hold me but fall apart. Is this true love? I surrender. I spill love. Is this true love? I surrender. I spill love. Something about you, I can hide it. I fell for you from the start. Something about you, good things happen. I fell for you from the start. Something about you, something about you, something about you, something about you.
I just came here and I haven't thought this through. Heart on my sleeve, ready to bleed. Wish I had another dream, then I'd have left it. Instead we're gonna go to the brink. Don't you think that we should forget? Give me all your love, give me all your love. Give me all your love, all your love.
Yeah. Ey, ich glaub, die Chancen stehen gut, dass wir morgen nicht mehr wissen, was wir heute gemacht haben. Ja, der Boost in meinem Blut killt den Blues ab. Ufer ist zu laut für die Nachbarn. Und ich füll noch was nach. Kühles im Glas und es wärmt mich von innen. Korkenfliegen sind wach, bis am Morgen danach alles von vorne beginnt. Fick auf eure Art und eure bessere Gesellschaft. Ich mach Party ohne Grund, auch wenn ich dafür nicht mal Geld hab. Nein, ich lebe nicht gesund und in den Tag, weil's mir gefällt. Mache Tracks, unterschätzt, diese Mucke ist mein Shelter. Seven vs. Wild, ja, ich bau mir was aus Pflanzen nach Mustafa, nicht in Wald. Gib mir noch was ein von dem Gift und die Sicht wird langsam dizzy von dem Wein. Seh nicht doppelt, sondern dreifach, wenn der Mond mal wieder scheint. Ja. Immer unterwegs, weiß nicht, ob ich ankomme. Schau tief in mein Glas, aber find keine Antwort. Ich glaub, die Chancen stehen gut, dass wir morgen nicht mehr wissen, was wir heute gemacht haben. Der Boost in meinem Blut killt den Blues ab. Ufer ist zu laut für die Nachbarn. Und ich füll noch was nach. Kühles im Glas und es wärmt mich von innen. Korkenfliegen sind wach, bis am Morgen danach alles von vorne beginnt. Viele bunte Drinks und ich chill an meinem Block. Tasche voller Ort, deshalb lauf ich vor den Cops. Brüder wollen chillen und ich schaue auf die Glock. Gerade passt es gut, ich habe 20 Gramm gekoppt. Rauche in der Einfahrt, Handy aus dem Weinglas. Wie lang ist es her, dass du das letzte Mal geweint hast? Alles ist im Einklang, ja. Fische nach dem neuesten Shit und das ist nur der Beifang. Immer unterwegs, weiß nicht, ob ich ankomme. Schau tief in mein Glas, aber find keine Antwort. Und ich füll noch was nach. Kühles im Glas und es wärmt mich von innen. Korkenfliegen sind wach, bis am Morgen danach alles von vorne beginnt.
Yeah. I'll avenge you. It's not long till I evolve to what I'm meant to be. Hometown prophecy, London reinvented me. Elitists do it properly. MJ would have rocked with me. It feels like a crown is the only thing on top of me. On this thing's in CD, get high like PG. Guided like Ouija, stay smart like 3Ps. Get fly like ET, live east like E3. I am the only trilogy that beat no repeat. I kill the beat, I slay the beat, I kill the beat. I'm an avenger.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pacific Championship Series, where we are starting the playoffs where it actually counts. In the lower bracket, with both Frank Esports and Meta Falcon Team facing elimination today. I'm going to be your host and play-by-play for the day, Clement Chu, and with me is the ever-so-handsome Frank Nightstar, no relation to the actual Frank Esports. Before we go deeper into the matchup, though, a big shout-out to our sponsors in CTBZ Bank and Caliber for making this all possible. And of course to our organizers at Riot Games, Carry Live Co, and Garena. So Frank, we've just seen a Meta Falcon Team take CFO earlier in the week. I think we all expected CFO to move through, but can you give me an impression on how Meta Falcon Team did in this playoff preparation?
It felt like to me they didn't fully utilize Taco's very diverse champion pool yesterday. So I hope that they are able to utilize it today. But at the very least, like when he did all right in the mid lane, but 665, certainly if you look at how the drafts went yesterday, the Graves priority, definitely a little bit puzzling.
So perhaps they were holding on to some of those cards. They did take a 3-0 defeat to CFO yesterday, and that is why we are now broadcasting on M3, Frank versus Meta Falcon Team. This will be a best of 5, unlike our 2021 year, and whoever drops out here is just done for playoffs. So this is a must-win match for both of these teams.
Absolutely. So we are, of course, in the elimination rounds, which is always a lot of fun because this is where if you have any hidden strats, it's time to bring those out. And it also seems a little bit surprising to see Frank Esports just start out in the lower bracket, right? Because I think a lot of us expected Frank Esports to be able to finish out with the 6th seed after getting the upset against DCG. But I mean, this is kind of the MO of Frank Esports this entire split. They exceed expectations.
That's really interesting because I think a lot of us will agree that Frank Esports overall, talent-wise, seems to be the stronger team. But unfortunately for them, there just has been a lot of games where they didn't close out or they actually failed from the start, like the head-to-head matchup they had versus Meta Falcon Team where Kurt was sent packing early against Taco. Meta Falcon Team, this is their full roster. They have been running Renhao this entire time. And Taco is kind of the man that we were talking about. It seems to be the key in this matchup if you look at the head-to-head.
Yeah, I mean, the man has such a insane top lane pool. And while Kurt has shown a little bit of diversity in his own pool as well, the quality of lane phase has certainly been a very, very glaring point up in that top side, at least for Frank Esports. And it also sort of reflects in the fact that they just put a lot of Hollow's time into that bottom lane just to get M&M ahead and get him snowballing. So I expect picks like the Xayah, like the Philios, these champions that can really dominate the game early on to be the main focus from Frank Esports.
All right, we'll see if Frank goes into that draft. But first, Kurt in the top lane, Holo jungle, Pretender mid, M&M and K2, the old bottom lane. This is our Hong Kong representative.
Yes.
All 5 of them playing in the same place here. And I do want to go over some of your points there. You said that they might be looking for more of an early game strategy, looking to shore up some of their bases. But wouldn't you say overall that they are very much kind of a late game team fighting team?
Yeah, for the most part, they draft a lot of scaling from the side of Frank Esports. It's really, when it comes to the early game, you're super focused around Hollow, M&M, and K2 are actually the big veterans on the squad. But when it comes to draft, it's very much focused around trying to scale up here.
All right, we'll see how that scaling does go out. Checking in with their champions killed per minute, definitely very low on the table. We don't expect to see massive amounts of that action early from Frank. But talking about their late game carries, both of these guys, the main damage dealers of their teams, M&M with 30% and Whale here with 27.3. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, I mean, M&M, again, the focus should be more towards the Zaya and the Philios. And for Whale, I'd like to see. We already know he wants to get the Jinx into his hands, but I'd like to see more MF. He picked it once yesterday, and to be fair, it looked pretty solid. And I think it just fits what stylistically MFT want to do, which is a lot of these mid-game focused team fighting preparations, and MF probably the queen of that.
We did see MFT actually have a pretty good game 3 versus CFO. They had strong team fighting mid games. We saw the engage coming in from the Ornn, the Wombo combo potential. They did drop it in the very end, but I think that was their sort of best comp. If you look at overall what they've been drafting, a lot of Gallios, a lot of Camille's, and just in general a lot of kind of catch, and then everyone tries to funnel in into the same position type of composition. Now, we have a little bit of time before we go into the ban picks, and I do want to get your predictions before we go in here. What do you think the game score is going to be for this series?
I'd love to predict Frank Esports 3-0, but based on their consistency issues, I do have Frank Esports eventually coming out, but in a 5-game series.
We'll see if they can take it all the way here. The head-to-head in the regular season has been 1-1. Zaya, like you mentioned, for M&M taken off the board immediately. Chundamir to follow, presumably from Kurt. And this is the interesting one. The Graves first pick has been a priority for MFT in their previous series, though they didn't find any success on it just yet. Frank Esports are still going to take it away.
Yeah, and I think the Graves ban somewhat makes sense because for the side of Frank Esports, like, they are a team that don't necessarily focus on invading and really forcing the issue against the other team's jungler, so it can offer up these pockets of windows to allow 665 to just kind of farm up. But here we actually see more jungle priority for the side of MFT. They go ahead, lock in the Viego. Yes, Hollow has played a little bit of it himself, or actually a decent chunk of it, but it does show that for MFT, the key for them in these drafts is get 665 what he wants.
I don't think I've seen a Viego first pick this entire season in the PCS. It definitely shows your hand a little bit here, and with so many other picks with higher priority, like the Jinx, like the Ahri, very interesting to see that being locked in here by 665. We'll see how he goes with that one. Frank, on the other hand, does seem to be going for more of an early game strat here, with the Lee Sin already in for Holo and Ahri being locked in for Pretender.
This is a champion that Pretender is pretty comfortable on, also offers a lot of mid-game potential, right? Because you have so much deletion power with the combination of Lee Sin and Ahri, and the ability to kite around fights for Pretender is certainly going to be really key as well. As they don't exactly execute the cleanest of team fighting, so when you do have a little bit more mobility in your champion kits, that can help out a lot.
We have a Vex coming in for Wen, and looking at the champion pools, he's only played this one once. A lot of reset potential, but I like this from MFT so far. It seems like playing to their strengths. Just great mid-game, tons of engage, good resets going into this one. I feel like they're playing a lot closer to home base than Frank Esports are.
So far, it is looking good for the side of MFT, because if you lock in this Leona, there's a lot of team fight lockdown and damage potential coming out so far. And for Frank Esports, they go ahead, lock themselves in the Philios. Not too surprising here, but what is a pick that has been left off the table so far has been the Jinx. No priority coming in from either side, and I fully expect Frank Esports to ban it away in the second ban phase.
Has been Whale's most picked so far, and if you look at the reset potential, Jinx definitely seems to be just the champion that fits the picture the most. But they go for the Ziggs first, which is pretty interesting. We do have to mention Whale also just plays a lot of different champions. He also plays the Tristana, which is another reset piece, so could be coming up there. On the other side, MFT, they will be banning some supports away from K2. K2 also very interesting because he plays a ton of supports. With them, the Yumi, also the Lulu. He does play a lot of those counter engage options as well.
Yeah, and I would expect them to go ahead and maybe ban away something like the Tom Kent or Braum here because of how focused MFT are on the dive power. And Frank Esports, they also kind of, no, or they go ahead, target a second ban towards Whale. They take the MF off the table, which I think plays very well into Frank Esports' composition. Not to mention, you already have such good lockdown power already on the side of MFT. If you get an MF into that composition, it will absolutely devastate Frank Esports time and time again with that MF ult.
Yeah, the mid-game power spike that you were talking about definitely provided by that misfortune. I think you're a prophet. Just calling that out even before we got into the bad pick phase. Super interesting coming in from Whale. On the other side, Frank, they are being pinched here by support. Want to lead that last pick towards the top lane. Are just going to pick in your old faithful in the Nautilus. And now it's time for MFT to show their cards, both in the top and in their AD carry.
Yeah, to be fair, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Sejuani come out again, coming in from Taco. A low-range composition, you just kind of want to wombo on into the side of Frank Esports, and you know that Kurt, he doesn't exactly have the counter picks to necessarily excel on, right? Yes, he could lock in something like a Fiora, and maybe he'll outscale you, but you know in the lane phase, he isn't going to gap you by 40 CS. So you have a lot of leeway when it comes to just what you want to blind pick here for the side of MFT.
Just seems like even more lockdown is probably preferred here for MFT. Oh, they will go for lockdown, but not the tank option. Oh, Taco trying to show off here. They're going with the Camille. And, you know, talking about the top lane, this is the one point on the map that actually for MFT is statistically better than the opposition. Taco has a lot better laning stats compared to Kurt. And Kurt also just doesn't have that much of a champion pool, to be absolutely honest. He is going to go for the Gnar pick, which is it's not exactly a counter pick. I think it's a safe pick.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be more on the safe end, but unfortunately, while Gnar, I think, makes a lot of sense, you know, when you're blind picking it, it certainly doesn't make a ton of sense when you are trying to counter pick here against the Camille already showing. I would have much preferred something like the Gragas in this instance here, just to give you a little bit more stability when it comes to this team fighting phase. Kurt on the Gnar hasn't exactly shown that he's been exceptionally clean on pick. Yes, there's times where he kind of he does find those big Gnar ultimates, but the lane phase has to always come into question.
Definitely, and Mini Gnar does not help you disengage with this composition. So, looking down the draft, I'm sensing a much clearer focus coming in from MFT. It's very powerful in their 5v5. It's very clear how they just want to run in and engage. But what are you getting here from Frank? I feel like Frank's a bit of an enigma for me.
Yeah, it feels like if you look at all these Frank Esports champions, it's a lot more of just taking the heads-up 1v1 duels, right? Aphelios wants to just take the heads-up duel. The Ahri wants to take a heads-up duel. Lee Sin, Gnar as well. Unfortunately, with factoring Kurt, I don't think that's going to happen. But for Frank Esports, I think it's a lot about this early game and being able to try and snowball into the mid game. But unfortunately, like MFT, this Wombo power coming in from their 5-man squad is really, really scary.
It's just, you click all of your ultimate buttons and someone is going to die on the side of Frank Esports. We're heading into the Rift. Just another reminder, today we are playing an elimination match. No more second chances. You have to live and move on or you go home. So we are going to hit the match between Frank Esports and Meta Falcon Team. So we have Frank with a 5-man stack right off the board, going for a potential invade. Looks like it, as we do have Nautilus coming across.
This is great.
from blindside vision. Wen's gonna get caught out, but he gets the passive, flashes away right off the start of things, and that's Frank Esports with a great vision sneak.
Yeah, really, really well played coming in from Frank Esports on that play, but it also means MFT will be able to get that red buff warded, and Pretender not opting to lob a Q into the bush just to check things out. Actually, it looks like they kind of plan to circle on around, so if 665 had stayed in that bush, potentially would have been caught out and picked off, but they did have a ward, so not going to get bamboozled there.
Both of the teams do have a ward on the respective red buffs, so they should know where these starts are going to happen. And Taco, very interesting, actually going for some harass, but he will face a potential sandwich right here. Kurt is not going to win this trade and is actually forced to take the hop level 1.
Very safe choice there.
Red now walking into a lot of trouble right there. Not a favorable trade. He goes up to half HP.
Yeah, and this is also PTA on this Affilio, so he was able to get the 3-hit proc there, and that's why you have that extra burst of damage come down onto Leona, and Leona also opting for the Glacial Augment. So it means that you have a lot more catch potential, but when it comes to trading before level 3, you are very, very squishy.
Yeah, we have seen double Glacial. Usually means that both junglers are going to be arriving here as well. It's a lot more of a snowbally lane. And now we have Holo coming into the bottom side. Both teams should know about the jungle pathing, but it's just about how they react to it, as we have MFT and Whale going over there and just dropping a ward.
Yeah, and really nice lane position down in that bot side for the side of Frank Esports now. 665, he's known to make an early visit over to Wen's lane quite often, at the very least to reset the wave and allow Wen to get a back off, or if the opportunity presents itself, to try and burn the flash on the enemy mid laner. Pretender is aware of that and ends up being able to just walk away.
Yeah, really nicely done. Kind of a telegraphed play from Wen, as he does walk up with the fear passive there, and Pretender instantly knows that he should be walking towards the other side. 3-3 versus 2-2 gank, very classical gank right here, but can 665 actually find the Spectral Maw? He is going to go into Camouflage, does find Eminem, burns his cleanse.
Holo's on the way.
Doesn't look like there is kill potential in this one. MFT will just back out. In the meantime, Holo does find the Scuttle, and Wen might be in a bit of trouble here. He's definitely in one-shot execution range, but Holo just going to assist with the wave clear, not going for the kill whatsoever. And we do have Wen just staying safe right here. A good attempt from both sides. We do have a bit of a CS lead on the side of Whale, but Frank Esports, they should be okay with that one as well.
Yeah, and more importantly, like, that's going to be double Scuttle for Holo. Already level 4, he's going to be very close to level 5, or at least halfway there. And if you compare the CS gap already in the jungle, 665 trying to make things happen very early on, and then as a result, he's given up multiple camps, or at the very least, both of these Scuttle Craps, right? So that's a pretty large gap already in the junglers, and that's resulted in a pickaxe buy.
Ooh, this buy for Lee Sin is absolutely bonkers here. We will see 665 still staying on the map, helping Taco push this one in.
He's still level 3!
At 4 minutes, not exactly what you want to see. He does have that Krug camp. Let's see if the gank for Holo will work out here. K2 looking for the angle. Watch out for the dredge line. Let's see if Renhao accidentally goes a little bit too far. The angle's definitely present. Can he actually turn this dredge line over? Ooh, the wave's not going to give him the opportunity here, as it does come in. Holo's also taking a lot of time here, so at least this will give 665 some time to actually catch up. There goes K2. He does actually find the Jinx in the end. Instant ignite into the Gravitum. The extra auto attack, the double flash it, not able to find the kill. Well, we'll survive that one.
Decent attempt coming in from Frank Esports, but unfortunately, by the time they were able to land a hook, Whale and Renhao just a little bit too far away from the rest of Frank Esports. So Whale able to get out, but he does have to burn both summoners, and it was a clutch block from Renhao at the end to make sure Hollow didn't land the Q onto the Jinx. That ends up saving Whale in that instance. And I mean, while he does lose a pretty sizable wave there, he's still even in CS.
Taco gonna take some punishment from a Kurt that just turned into Meganar, still holding on to the ultimate.
wow.
Nearly one-shots him. Taco
Wow.
does have to run away right here. He does land the
Wow.
W, but it will be a solo kill. Kurt finds the solo versus Taco, something we did not expect of this matchup.
Wow, okay. Kurt find the 1v1 there was 100% unexpected. For sure, I thought Taco wins the lane more often than not, and even then also in a very dominating fashion. But that certainly shifts the calculus quite a bit, right? If Nar does find the 1v1, even against that Sheen purchase, you already have steel cap boots. It also is tier 2 boots. The amount of kiteability offered by the Nar now is going to be pretty strong, and all of a sudden, there's a lot more options available for the side of Frank Esports in how they want to play the game.
Yeah, such an incredibly clean solo kill as well. This is always the thing about Camille trading is you can't afford to get caught out in the middle of the lane. No opportunity to use hookshot right there, and he just gets run over by Kurt on that item buy. I think we do have to delve into some of those other win conditions that you just mentioned. You know, we said that Frank Esports was they're definitely aiming for more of like a solo, just kind of will beat you on each individual point type of strategy. Now with Kurt with a sizable lead here, how do you see this one playing out?
Well, if Hollow does set up for the dive here, it could be a bit risky. But if they are able to find the kill, even trading one kill back, this would be a very, very good result. But Meganar about to time out. That's going to leave them too small of a window to actually be able to find that kill. And they'll instead turn their attention towards this Rift Herald. And so far, like, besides this bottom lane, CS-wise, everything is kind of going to as expected. The only issue has been their usual strong point on the map with Eminem on this Aphelios and just hard slamming the lane. That hasn't really come to fruition. He's down 10 CS, which is not the typical Eminem lane phase.
It does seem like MFT are playing extra attention over towards Eminem. They know he's the main carry, 30% of the team's damage. If you can shut that down, that's pretty much Frank's late game expectations, as we do see a Herald for blue buff trade starting out here. Definitely still a little bit more favorable. Oh, 665 finally picks up the blue buff. I thought he was about to lose that one, but he does take it in the very end, so at least they get a little bit something back. In the meantime, we do have Holo with the Herald here.
Yep.
I do want to ask you where you expect this one to get dropped.
Most likely bot lane. I mean, like, when it comes to their solo laners, they typically play with not a whole lot of jungle attention, and they don't get a lot of gold invested.
Holo does show himself. K2 flashes in. The Moonlight Vigil actually doesn't land, but the Dragon's Rage will do the job. A two-man knockup into another kill in the bottom side, and Frank Esports wipe away that deficit in bot.
And Frank Esports, once again, they managed to brute force it in that bottom lane. Now, of course, with the Herald available, they're actually going to move towards the mid lane. It is actually going to be
Redhawk looking for a return kill, goes straight onto Eminem. They find him. The stun doesn't go down just yet, but they will finish off the kill, which means the Herald drop probably not going to happen just yet. 665 does not get the kill, actually, excuse me. It is Renhao taking down the Aphelios.
But at the same time, it is going to be the Aphelios still going down, and now Whale is able to return to this lane. And while a kill did go into the hands of Eminem, the lane position isn't that bad for this Jinx pick still, and she is also going to be able to continue to generate that CS lead. So all in all, the gold is pretty even still in this AD carry matchup.
A really good combo from the side of MFT. I was a little bit surprised that Eminem wasn't able to use his flash at all in that one. He did have it, but it seems like the stun lock from Renhao and 665 made short work of the Aphelios right there. And we do have MFT winning out on their bottom lane, which is not typically the lane that they go for, I would say. Taking a look at the gold difference here. Small lead for Frank.
And, I mean, for the most part, Whale has done very well in the bot lane when it comes to just kind of laning. A lot of times when he ends up falling behind, it's because he's forced in a position where his support needs to go bail out when in that mid lane matchup. That hasn't been an issue so far in this game, so Whale's been able to play the game, play bot lane, and he's been very efficient in doing so.
K2 waiting over the wall, but he's not going to get vision of Whale. Now he finds it just yet. It's going to go Hex Flash directly over into the ultimate. There's a 3-man Leona ultimate down to help things out, but Frank Esports are picking up the kills left and right. Already 2 down, and what a great ambush by K2 and Frank Esports. They get to the point first. Nar was down here early, and he also just dropped the Herald kind of haphazardly there. I think that one might have been a mistake, but they will pick up this Hex Tech Drake nonetheless.
Yeah, actually the Herald about to time out there in that instance. Only had probably around 20 seconds left. So forced to throw that down earlier, and what a great play coming in from K2. Comes over the wall with that Hex Flash, knowing that the rotation is just going to be there from everyone on the side of Frank Esports. They pull Kurt down for this play, and you can see, like, on the mini-map in that instance, Taco, he had just entered that bot side jungle when the fight just finished. So the rotations coming in from the solo laners on the side of MFT just that much slower, and that has been one of the big points of Frank Esports. What they've been really good at is just Kurt, he's always willing to rotate 30 seconds early. If it means sacking 2 waves, he'll do it. But when it comes to playing for his team, he's always there.
It definitely has been the case right here. We've seen that sort of move also go sideways sometimes, but in this instance, definitely working out. I feel like Kurt is definitely much more of a teamfight-centric top laner than a split pusher that we've seen been kind of the more popular trend in Season 12 right here. MFT will come back into the bottom side, and so far that mid-game combo that we've been hyping up in the draft hasn't come to fruition just yet. The Hextech Ultimatum, the Shadow Surge, not happening just yet. The Pretender flying in onto when will find the charm. 665 there to escort though.
Yeah, 665 in the perfect place there in that moment. Prevents his mid laner from going down, but still really well executed coming in from Frank Esports. And this is kind of the point where Frank Esports do sometimes struggle though. They get themselves a 3k gold lead, and then the next 5 minutes, it just holds at 3k gold. So we need to see more come out from Frank Esports. It's not like we have a third dragon about to come into their hands, so they need to be a little bit more proactive in trying to generate more leads, especially with the composition that they do have, which you would still say would get outscaled later on in the game.
I definitely agree with that one. You really need to get a little bit more kills on that Ahri. Make sure everything can go smoothly. MFT still have with a very strong Wombo combo teamfight comp. So, you know, those comps typically not as affected by gold deficits. We are just going to see a trade for Herald for the top lane, for the bottom lane, excuse me, coming in from MFT. They will look to get an extra turret on the top side as well. 665 just getting into position. Let's see if he drops the Herald directly, or will he wait on this one? The rotation is coming in from Frank, and looks like that window has closed. Just a straight up 3v3 in the top side. And actually Frank a little bit slower on this rotation here. Let's see what they are going to do. Once again, this is kind of detrimental to Kurt, as he doesn't really get to do much here.
Yeah, Kurt really wants to find that Mega Gnar. Big Mega Gnar ultimate. If he is able to find just like 2 or even the 3-man ult, that would be absolutely massive to just try and snowball the game, but they will just rotate him down bot lane. And at the very least, Frank Esports, they are sort of able to mitigate the possibility of that Rift Herald happening. And now it's about controlling this top half of the map, at least for the time being. Try and break down that next tier 1 tower, whether it's in the mid lane or in this top lane.
Let's see how they go about it. I will say for Meta Falcon team, their team's biggest weakness to me is just their unfamiliarity with pro level macro. I feel like their mid game macro has been probably one of the weaker teams in the PCS for sure. They are essentially a collegiate team, and they do make a lot of lane allocation mistakes that we've seen in the past. So hopefully that will not be the case this game, and it does seem like they will not be playing too overly aggressive without vision right here, keeping both side lanes safe. We are going to be heading into the next Drake, and I have to ask you, who really holds the edge in this one, and what do you expect to see out of the setups?
I mean, when it comes to the damage potential, you do have to favor the side of Frank Esports with the Mega Gnar at this point in the game, right? The Camille's not quite online.
Taco just gets taken through mid-air, drops down to 300 HP, and has to flash out. He might just be dead already before the fight even starts. A bit of a oopsies right there. MFT will drop the Herald, but yeah, that was
charge.
A little bit unexpected. I think it came out of nowhere. Really good aim coming in from K2.
Yeah, and I don't think there's going to be much of a fight now for this next dragon, so it should just be the Inferno going into the hands of Frank Esports, although MFT, they are still kind of sniffing around here, which might be a little bit detrimental here if they overstay their welcome, and Frank Esports just turns onto him. K2 playing very, very well so far, and might have another opportunity to find a hook.
Gravitum goes down. They do catch out Red now, forces the flash. 665 goes forward, but Kurt
almost
has his sights on him. Is looking for the potential to bring him back into the team. Holo is going to go forward just to put a little bit of damage. He doesn't have the Dragon's Rage. He's just fronting, but the front works.
Yeah, and I mean, Frank Esports, they've been in pretty good control of this game. When we talk about how they play out the game, it feels very PSG-esque because they'll get these leads and they kind of just sit on them for a little bit. And then you get to that 21, 22 minute mark, then they find that first big fight, and then it turns into something like a Baron or the possibility of the Dragon Soul. And that's how they kind of try and snowball and end the game off of that point. But as it stands now, Dragon Soul isn't going to be a big issue here, and Baron is not necessarily going to be something that they can just kind of bait around too hard at the moment, because of still the reset potential coming in from a Viego Jinx composition.
Yeah, they do have to be very careful, and this is something that I find kind of interesting about this game. We've talked up MFT having the much easier to execute teamfight combo, the, in our eyes, stronger teamfight combo, but Frank has just been decimating them in terms of playing around objectives. Both of these major fights have been Frank just popping out, getting a catch right off the start, and I'm not sure what MFT need to do here. They have the tools, but how do they bring those tools into an actual fist? You know, it just seems to be they're in this kind of a slap fight when they should be trying to aim for a punch.
Yeah, that's always a bit of a question for MFT, and just how do they find that team fight before the other side is able to just kind of get all their resources together. And that's been a big issue for MFT. You saw yesterday in their series against CFO, it was Taco. Yes, when he has the teleport, he's typically there at the right time, but when almost always seems to be 5-10 seconds late to the play, so he needs to be on top of his rotational game for MFT to have a chance, because on this Vex, this is a majority of their upfront damage to get these resets for your Jinx, for your Viega.
We still haven't seen that Vex use the Shadow Surge in a team fight at all. It's just been picks on picks for Frank Esports, and I have to say the laning phase for MFT wasn't even that bad. The bot lane was winning, so I'm very surprised at this mid-game result. Now we have a potential catch right on top of Kurt. Hextech ultimatum gonna go down, but they can't finish him before he goes into the Mega Gnar. They finally get the kill into the resets. Let's see if they can get more. K2 in a bad position. Shadow Surge won't land though, as Renhouse stays alive somehow. MFT gonna chase forward. We finally get the passive. Eminem has to burn both of his summoners, and that is MFT roaring back into a good team fight win.
Yeah, and it comes off the back of Taco and 665 being able to find Kurt early on and be able to almost get him for free there. It does still end up getting traded 1-for-1, but they end up winning out when it comes to a lot of the map control at the moment, but unfortunately unable to get more out of that fight, as it feels like it's gonna go reset, and then everyone's still gonna be up and available for this next dragon, but more importantly, there's a lot of missing summoner spells for the side of MFT.
Small correction, it was just a 1-for-0 there for Meta Falcon team. Red House somehow survived at the very end. But you hit the nail on the head.
665 did go down though.
Oh, 665. Oh, okay. Yeah, my bad. 665 did overchase a little bit right there. All eyes really on Eminem going into this one. A lot of pieces still available. Shadow Surge is up. Leona Ultimate is up. Let's see if MFT can finally fight a good objective fight. We are going in. Holo trying to find the back line.
Oh, Whale!
Whale is going to go down towards Pretender. Another catch right before the Drake. And how is Frank keep on getting this over and over again? MFD are just never grouped for these team fights. Frank just going to head straight for the Baron.
I don't know what just came across my screen. I just saw a giant Jinx rocket come down. But, more fighting.
That's going to be an easy pickup kill for Frank Esports. They have the vision control, they find the blind spot, and they punish Frank. Once they punish MFT once again for just having a very haphazard approach to these objectives.
Yeah, and it's just the rotations. Like, once again, Pretender, he shows up into that mid lane, and for the side of MFT, like, they aren't able to pull their soul laners around fast enough. The one fight that they found, it was because their soul laners were there first. Like, we're gonna see the replay on how they were able to find the pick. It's Taco being there, it's Wen being there, and when you just have more members, it makes these fights a whole lot easier to execute. But then, right after that success, or somewhat of a success, it looked good at the start. MFT, they just get caught out in no man's land. They're the ones that get punished because their soul laners just don't rotate.
Yeah, that has been a very consistent issue this game, and I'm a little bit disappointed. We still, like, we were guaranteed MFT, this wombo combo, you know, is supposed to be a big meal, a massive feast, and so far we've only seen appetizers. Like, they have not been able to pull this composition together whatsoever, and it just does feel like the difference in levels of fundamentals. I don't think Frank Esports is doing anything particularly fancy. They're just saying, okay, we'll show up a little bit earlier on these objectives and we'll pick you out when you come around.
Yep.
Vision blind spots. It's
yeah, it's just a better understanding of, like, the timers. And unfortunately for MFT, they're just, you know, 10-15 seconds behind on every single play. Like, the thought's there, but the execution just way too far behind. And now Frank Esports, they have this Baron buff. Yes, they did drop the Dragon, which Taco was able, it was either Taco or 665 was able to sneak away, which is very important because it delays Dragon Soul at the very least. But Frank Esports should be able to really just almost nearly put this game to rest at this point, because the gold lead is just going to balloon. It should be very close to 10k by the end of this Baron buff.
And we do have Pretender being super fed here as well. Has not died this game just yet. Already sitting on 4 kills. If he lands a charm, that is going to be a kill. So Frank Esports, they're not going to give up this opportunity. They're going to continue to push. MFT for them, they finally have all 5 people grouped. It's not in front of an objective, but they do have all members here. So maybe we can see the fight going on. Death Charge gonna go down. We have a massive 3-man ultimate into the back line. Kurt finds the engage. Holo gonna fly in. Pretender gets up a kill, but Whale might be chasing this down. He's getting excited. Reset City going in. 665 finds one. He gets another. Whale is still chasing in on Eminem. He does find the 80 carry trade. Now it's only the jungler versus the mid laner who will win out. Pretender, last man standing out of 10 people in the bottom lane.
That was the most gladiator fight I've seen of all time, and Pretender is the one left standing. It does mean that they won't be able to finish out the game because of the fact that it's only the Ahri left, but as we get to see the replay, it all starts out with being able to find the catch onto Taco and resulting in the multi-man Gnar. Kurt on the Gnar has been very impressive in this first game so far, but able to get that first reset, and this is what makes this composition so scary, right? Because you get the first reset, all of a sudden Jinx gets excited, you get the ult resets coming in for Viego, and you also get the ult reset coming in for the Vex. So a lot of damage potential after that first kill goes down for the side of MFT, and that time they were able to capitalize on Holo overextending.
I'm so surprised at the result of that team fight because Meta Falcon team were down 7,000 gold before going into that one. I didn't expect it to be close whatsoever. I thought Frank would pretty much just like roll their faces on the keyboard and just decimate them.
Yes.
It just kind of shows you the power of Meta Falcon team's composition and the reset potential. Like you were mentioning, how should Frank play this a little bit more carefully, as I think they were pretty surprised by that result as well.
Yeah, I definitely think they were really shocked by how that fight turned out, and now things are interestingly going to, while it is a near 10k gold lead, but what we've seen from that last fight and the fact that Jinx is now has a 3rd completed item, you would certainly favor her 3 items against the
Here comes the engage here. Pretender not
whiff.
going to get locked down. It's K2 that's the target, but a lot of damage going through. Oh my god, that's the Aphelios once again.
200 years
onto 4 members of the team. You forgot about Eminem. All focus was on K2, but Eminem was there to pick up the pieces. Will the real Eminem please stand up right here as they put the finishing touches? Maybe, as well as still cutting up. He's looking for the damage, but he won't find it. Kurt chain locks him down, won't get the kill. Eminem face taking the tower though. Eminem, what are you? Wait a minute, Eminem's dead. It's still gonna be 3 versus none though, so they still have a chance to just take this one down. 665 is coming in. Eminem still with the right call for sure. Congratulations to Frank Esports. The last 2 team fights had a lot of excitement for us, but it looked like they should be winning this one. The charm lands onto 665 from Pretender. Do they want this extra kill before putting the finishing touches? They will get it. And Frank Esports with the first blood being drawn here.
That was a wild ending, Clement. It was a lot of fun towards the end of the game. It felt like Frank Esports were just in complete control, and we were going to have a very PSG-esque sort of game where they just slowly choke out the side of MFT. But MFT, they finally end up bearing their fangs. Hey, you don't need to worry about rotational gameplay coming in from your solo laners if you're stuck in your base. So everyone's just kind of stuck home, you know? So that helped out just a little bit, and they were able to find that one big fight, but unfortunately the gold lead was just too much at the end, and Frank Esports just kind of slammed them over the heads with the wallet.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. The last team fight was, you could tell that the idea was there. All they needed was the reset, but they couldn't even kill K2. K2 actually just stood alive, and then Eminem was like, oh, you guys are all grouped up here. Well, I guess it's a barbecue. Just launches the Moonlight Vigil, and they all just, and they burn down, and everyone's running. The entire house is on flames. What a very exciting match to watch right here. I think, talking about this one holistically, I think both of us actually favored the MFT draft, but Frank came out with far better execution.
Yeah, and I think the key point was like, this Camille should get ahead if we factor in the players themselves, right? But it was Kurt that actually stepped up, and he performed in the lane phase, and that really changed the expectations quite a bit, because all of a sudden you have to deal with this Mega Gnar that is actually a threat, whereas a lot of times when you think about Kurt as a player, at least across the spring split, it's been, well, he's going to show up, but he's really just a bundle of fake HP. You could easily burst him out, even in Mega Gnar, and he's not going to be effective, but that wasn't the case this time around. So big credit goes out to Kurt in showing up at the start of this series, which changes a lot of how you think about these MFT drafts going into next game.
Yeah, I do want to ask about the draft, because for MFT, I don't think the draft actually mattered that much this game, to be perfectly honest. It's much more about just fundamentals.
Executions.
Exactly. How would MFT try to close that gap? If they could do it through the draft, is there some sort of a draft that would allow them to kind of maybe group up faster or not be picked up so easily? Do you think that's a possibility, or is it the coaches
Frank
just have to hammer
Esports could just give over the Galio? That would remedy a lot of their problems,
they're
right?
not gonna
Because
do
if you
that.
get caught out, you just heroes entrance in.
That's true. And I feel like that's a really good point on why nobody gives Galio over to Wen. I think it's a valid point, but I don't expect that to happen whatsoever. I mean,
Yeah, unfortunately, like, I think the side of Frank Esports played the draft very well, right? You take away the Galio, you also take away the MF, like the possibility of a huge Wombo sort of fight happening. This really gets taken off the table very quickly when you remove the MF, because the rotations haven't been an issue for the bottom lane duo. It's been about the mid and the top lane that don't always show up at the right time. As we get to see the game summary, it was a 30-minute game, but it didn't feel like MFT had a lot of say in this game, because it was just all red.
Yeah, they didn't win a single team fight until much later into the game, that small blip around 27 minutes, and that was basically the last hurrah for them. I think the draft, they could probably go with the same stuff right here and just try to execute it better. Again, MFT, their story coming into this is a bunch of collegiate kids that came over from the LSC directly into pro. Even though the players were on very much different levels, they decided to stick together and try to be a pro team with the inbuilt synergy. Unfortunately, this time around, didn't work out, and K2 well-deservedly gets the MVP. Probably one of his better performances, I would say, throughout the entire split. All of his engages were on point, and he was the one mastering a lot of those pickups that we saw around objectives.
Yeah, and this is just the power of Nautilus, right? When you are able to snowball with that glacial augment, each and every pick you get is just more and more devastating, because they just have no way of getting out of that engage with the extra glacial augment. And then the Nautilus gets tankier and tankier because he's able to get kill participation, so it becomes even more and more difficult to burst out, even though you want to turn your attention onto this champion because he doesn't have aftershock. And because he's a support, unfortunately, just way too tanky with his after snowballing so hard.
Yeah, he was building even Shroud and still staying alive despite being focused down by 4 members coming in from Meta Falcon team. They could not take they couldn't keep the Nautilus down, as the saying goes for him. And that will be game 1 over to Frank Esports in our elimination match. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
Your family.
I just came here and I haven't thought this through. Heart on my sleeve, ready to bleed. Wish I had another dream, then I'd
Welcome back to Game 2 between Meta Falcon Team and Frank Esports. We saw in the first game, Frank Esports beating down the younger squad with a lot more solid fundamentals, but going into this one, maybe Meta Falcon Team will have something different up their sleeve as they swap over towards the red side. Before we dive deeper into the matchup, a big thank you to our sponsors in CTBC Bank and Caliber, and of course to our organizers at Riot Games, Carry Live Co. and Garena. Now, Frank, we're coming into Game 2, and as you know about Best of 5, a lot of adjustments can be made, need to be made. What do you expect from Meta Falcon?
Well, they are swapping over to the red side, so hopefully we see a little bit more focus on making sure Taco is able to get ahead. Even in that previous game, yes, you had the Camille in the top lane, but 665 continued to play towards the mid and bot half of his map. So I'd like for him to shift some attention up towards top lane and just really get an advantage for Taco that he's able to then snowball into a 1v1 advantage.
Now, here's my question for you on Taco. What has been your favorite...
Mordekaiser.
Oh, okay, you already know what I'm going to ask. You're supposed to let me finish the question, though. What is your favorite, Taco out there champion? Why is it Mort, though? I thought he lost on the Mordekaiser.
No, I just said Mort just to... I know you don't have good memories of that game.
You're tilting me.
I just said it just because, but I mean, Taco...
He's played 13 different champions, by the way.
He's played a lot of champions. I think the Silas has been the really cool one in those moments. I think Silas potentially could show its head in this series as well, because if Kurt's going to lock in Gnar, well, Silas has a solid matchup into Gnar, but it's all about these mid-game powers, right? Where he's just a better Gnar in these fights. So I think Silas could very well show its head in this game. We could also see the Sejuani. I like the look of the Sejuani yesterday. But I think when it comes to some of these adjustments, maybe look at taking away this Nautilus pick, because the amount of times they just kept getting caught out was just unreal. And that's not a thing about Nautilus. It's more about their positioning. But if you can't fix that, just take away the Nautilus.
All right, we'll see if they heed your advice here as they, interesting enough, take away the Lee Sin. We didn't actually get to see that much of the Lee Sin, but they definitely consider it a threat. Frank Esports, on the other hand, they're just going to stick with the same three bans over once more. The Graves, of course, Wen's Galio, and Ari now being targeted out for Pretender. Pretender still has a whole host of champions here, but if we're going down kind of the power picks, the Jinxes are still up, and whoa, this is interesting. Are we going to get a series with double Viego first picks?
Oh, that could be it, because the Lee Sin did get it taken off the table, and Hollow, I mean, his second most played champion is that Viego pick. Yes, he's played a lot of Xin, but Xin, I think 665 is very happy in picking a slew of champions against that pick, because it allows him to kind of farm up and do his thing. Now MFT, we'll see what they go for. I would expect to see a 665 champion on this rotation. And there we go. It's going to be the Nocturne. Nocturne, a pick I definitely do not like early on in a draft. Just because I think you need to see their composition in order to pick the Nocturne to actually be effective.
Yeah, he is a very much dive champion. Maybe they're thinking that Frank Esports always have Eminem on hyper carry, so diving him is always going to end up profiting, but I agree with you. It's definitely not a champion you see very often locked in the first rotation for sure. On the other hand, Frank Esports will just go with the Aphelios, not going to walk into the Jinx matchup here, and this could be their chance to snag the Nautilus once again. You have mentioned just the ability for K2 to find those picks. He was great in catching out rotations here. It does look like they will go for a very similar idea, but this time it will be the Leona instead.
Yeah, it almost feels like they want to deny the Leona away from MFT rather than just go back onto the Nautilus. And MFT, see how they end this first phase. Of course, they could opt for a Wen champion, something like a... Okay, I was going to suggest maybe the Rise comes through, but instead it's going to be the Braum. I don't hate the Braum here because it allows you to play very defensive in this bottom lane, and Whale, Renhao have done very well when it comes to the lane phase, given the opportunity to play out the lane. But perhaps this does mean we are going to focus more attention towards that top side, because, when you have Braum, you'd like to play a little bit more weak side, unless if 665 just chain ganks because he sees he has a Braum stun.
I just want to ask you, what's the best top laner to go in with the Nautilus? I completely agree with your assessments. This looks like MFT just saying, okay, bot side, just don't do anything. We've got late game. You guys just wait there. We're just going to snowball against Kurt 24/7. What do you think the best champion is with the Naughty? Oh, not with the naughty. I'm sorry, with the Nocturne.
I mean, I would love to see an opportunity to maybe see something like a Fiora, just something that can just hard farm, especially when you know you're up against an Aphelios who's a somewhat low range AD carry. Yes, he pumps out a lot of damage, but he doesn't necessarily have that extra kite ability against a Fiora that a Jinx might have. If you have A, your traps, and B, if you get excited, then you have that extra burst of movement speed to extend the distance. So MFT, we'll see what they go for here. I would expect to see a Wen champion, and it will be the Zoe picked up, which we saw yesterday. To mixed results, I would say.
Yeah, it did get some good ganks off early game, but we haven't really seen Wen snowball this champion to the point to really make this pick worth it. I think that's the biggest issue. We haven't seen it throughout the entire regular season, and he's not going to be having a lot of support from the jungle early on in this Nocturne either. So I kind of read this as Wen being a little bit cornered. I wonder if you agree with that.
Yeah, it seems like they want some sort of mid champion without the rise that can shove the lane early on. But again, making rotations as a Zoe can be very, very dangerous. So Frankie Sports, they go ahead, lock in the LeBlanc, and they go for the blind pick Gnar. So now it's up to Taco really to decide how he wants to play this top lane. He doesn't have the Camille available to him. He doesn't have the Tryndamere as well, but everything else is on the table. So there we go.
Here we go.
The Sylas.
The Sylas once again, and this is the champion where MFT actually took down Frank Esports, and it was very much the same strategy. You just go top lane, you collect your 300 gold, you treat Kurt like an ATM, and you pay him a lot of visits. So we'll see if the same strategy will work out here again. On the other side for Frank Esports, this comp looks kind of similar to what MFT were playing back in the previous game. Looking at this LeBlanc and Diego, that looks damn scary.
Yeah, it's a lot of kill pressure in that mid jungle 2v2. Also has a lot of gank pressure early on to something like a Zoe, who is a mobile before level 6, and even level 6 pretty telegraphed in where he's going to be making his plays, right? So the side of Frank Esports, I think they should play around mid jungle a little bit more this game. But obviously, when you have a Leona, when you have an Aphelios down in that bot lane, and you have K2 and M&M, namely, you're going to invest a lot of time and resources to try and get them ahead.
Okay, so we do have walking into the Rift here, Frank Esports likely with some sort of a lead pre-6, as you've mentioned, the Viego and the LeBlanc, a lot of kill threat right there. They're probably going to dominate that lane. And for MFT, I guess my biggest question is, if the top lane chain gank thing doesn't happen, like, what does this comp do?
It's got decent range with a Zoe and a Xayah, but face checking bushes is not going to be easy.
Okay. I'm just going to take that answer as they have to chain gank top. As we head into the Rift right here, this is the PCS playoffs. We are starting in the lower bracket between Frank Esports, Meta Falcon team. Game 2 with Frank already taking down Game 1 right here. This is the best of 5. As we head on to the Rift, we're going to be taking a look at the Keystone Runes. Taco gonna go for the phase shift right here. So, phase rush, excuse me. So we'll be able to catch up onto Kurt if he gets the chance. We'll just find the strong level 1, E first. And Kurt gets chunked down quite heavily here. Might have to back before coming back to lane.
Yeah, we'll be both top laners just resetting there. And Kurt actually, I'm not sure if he had... Okay, he had a refillable. So him popping that potion was of no consequence there. Otherwise, that could have been pretty detrimental in that instance. But it will be a pretty generic level 1. Nothing happening. No fancy movements. I was a little surprised that we didn't see something come out from Pretender on this LeBlanc. Of course, being able to jump over walls and put deep vision onto the red buff, but instead he goes for a pretty standard, just a Raptor ward there.
Yep. Does start out with the distort, so is able to just get that ward in early. Taco will try to go for a strong level 1 trade, but he actually misses out on the chain lash. Excuse me, not the chain lash. The abduct right there, and Kurt gets a massive level 1 trade in. That's 200 HP to nothing.
Yeah, it is going to be a corrupting potion start for Taco. So at the very least, he has decent amount of sustain along with the biscuit. So he is going to have more resources to trade with, but certainly that start is not a great look for Taco, which again, we fully expected Taco to have a pretty large advantage, at least skill-wise, up against Kurt, and so far it has not looked that way.
That has to be so rough for Taco. He tries to dodge the boomerang, walks straight back into it, and then takes another auto attack too. So far, Kurt, he seems to have upped his mastery on this Gnar. We certainly saw him as a bit of a weak point on the side of Frank, but he's not been exposed, or I think he's just playing better today for sure. As we do have a 665 a little bit cautious about walking into his red buff. I can definitely understand that, especially with the lane state in the top side. And this will be Holo just punishing him to the maximum. Will be a 3 buff start here coming in for the Viego, with Kurt even bullying the Nocturne a little bit more.
Yeah, this is actually the maximum greed pathing coming in from a Nocturne to try and you're just like, wait, I swear the red buff was there just a second ago. Now it's gone. But Holo also going to snag away the Scuttle Crab. That's massive here for the side of Frank Esports. So already there's a lot of denial against this Nocturne, and he's going to try and recoup some of it by doing what he does, which is just tax mid.
In the meantime, though, we do have the first Scuttle actually being taken away by Frank Esports. They just walked up and took it. So double Scuttle start again for Frank this game, with the CS, I believe, going over towards Eminem's side. This bottom lane, just looking at the champions, not really expected to win out, especially before the first item purchase here. So just great punish from Frank all across the board. We do see Renhao, getting baited here. He does straight face check into 2 people. Ignite goes down. He holds on to all of his summoners, but a very good punish here coming in from Frank.
Yeah, at the very least, okay, it looks like they still want to be a little bit aggressive, but 665 making his way down. If they get baited a little bit too much, they could get punished, but yeah, taking that trade, not that big of a consequence because they knew their goal was just to kind of just reset. So having that large wave that they had there allowed them to take a little bit more of a greedy trade that doesn't really matter in the end because they're just aiming for that reset.
Yeah, however, the back timing should be massively in favor of Eminem as he comes back in here. Is going to get that extra Noon Quiver coming back into lane. I could be seeing a Drake actually go down pretty soon. In the meantime, we do have the trades still going into Kurt's favor, as we just saw a bit of a scuffle right there. And I do like this first buy coming in for him. Getting the Executioner Sword is going to make sure that Kingslayer isn't going to get so much value on the side of Taco right here. We do have some preliminary scouting from Renhao. They know that, because of the back timings, it's very possible that this could be a Drake start. And we do have Renhao roaming across unspotted here. Let's see if he can find some action. Will find Pretender, but misses the Winter's Bite. Here comes K2. Does knock down Wen. Wen has to flash away here. Can he survive? Will be able to pop out and even pop back in for a little bit of damage. So a skirmish won here quite solidly by Frank.
Yeah, and once again, it's Frank Esports finding a skirmish right before they turn their attention towards an objective. So that will be yet another win, and I fully expect them to now turn their attention towards that first dragon. Although it does look like they want to try and zone Whale off of this tower instead. So being able to get 160 gold in solo plate gold is still a noteworthy objective.
Definitely is, and they also deny even more CS from Whale. He was already behind before that.
Yep.
And with Renhao backing, well, he really doesn't have a say in this one. But here comes the MFT bread and butter strategy with this composition. Taco does have access to the Mega Gnar here, regardless of Kurt actually transforming or not. See if he can push this wave in and have 665 go in for the dive. If they don't go in, they're not getting anything back for it. They're just going to be losing out on this Infernal. So I do expect them to have to go in here. Let's see if they find the chance, but no. Oh, Kurt actually keeps the wave out of his own tower. And he is going to be fine here. Taco goes in, but he misses the Mega Gnar, finds the chain though, and he will get the kill down. That was, level up to keep himself alive too. Very much on the edge for Taco, but he makes it work.
Very good heads-up play coming in from Taco to just take that last minion to get the level up, to get the extra HP to stay alive. And now they still have both of their flashes to try and make that play happen once more, once those ultimates come back off of cooldown. So now it is going to be very clear difference of game plan executions. For the side of MFT, it's all about this top half. For the side of Frank Esports, it's all about that bottom half of the map.
That was just a little bit unfortunate for Kurt right there. Got a little bit, greedy there. Threw the boomerang. He's like, you just missed your ult. Shame on you. And then he realized, oh, wait a minute, I'm stuck in animation. Gets taken down by the Abduct right afterwards. And now we are going to see Frank actually starting up on this Herald. It's only a 3-man operation here. It's actually a 4-man. Let's see if they can find anybody with these catches. LeBlanc, of course, known for that. It looks like they will get out potentially cleanly. The smite does go over to Holo, but he cannot pick up the Eye of the Herald. Kurt has to back away too. Wen does find a Sleepy Trouble Bubble, but only onto Pretender. It looks like MFT will just nullify this Herald play.
Yeah, it's just going to be the gold coming off of killing the Rift Herald, and now they're also going to lose the blue buff. So all in all, the gold trade is actually dead even in that instance. Both of the AD carries don't rotate up to force the issue, and so both of the AD carries just kind of go ahead, farm away at whatever minions they were being offered, and it ends up just being a net zero trade.
But we do have Wen finding some damage onto Pretender. It looks like MFT are trying to muscle them out of this top side here. Lots of wards going down, and the Paranoia is up here for 665. So wonder what Kurt is going to do about this situation. He's just going to straight up back. He's like, nah, I don't want to stay around here. This is a little bit too dangerous for me. I've seen this show before. I know how it goes, and we have both of the solo laners going back.
Yeah, and if you look at this top lane is, I mean, it's even up in this top side, but when you compare them to the rest of the map, they're only really keeping up with their junglers. The other skill positions in the mid lane and in that AD carry bot lane, they are far and away ahead of their top laners in just gold, right? They're about 30 CS up. So when they join their first team fight, you might be in for a surprise with how much damage is coming out of everyone else.
Yeah, we had both top laners joining ganks, getting pulled towards the Herald fight, so they've not been the most focused laners, I would say, this game, and definitely will hurt their development. 665 now still looking for a second angle to pop that Paranoia. I do believe that he's running with the Ingenious Hunter, I think. Oh, Ultimate Hunter, I think. So we'll have potential to kind of snowball that one if he does get a couple more takedowns. We still have the double reds onto the top side. So the strategic focus, I think, could not be more obvious on the side of MFT. It's just really about how can Kurt and Frank Esports in general sort of react to this.
Yeah, and if Kurt overstays here, they could just immediately turn on to him. But Taco has the teleport, so I think he wants to get his next purchase in. Gets the Lucidity boots as well. Now, here they go.
The preemptive flash will find the fear before the hop lands, and Kurt is just getting chased down. Red buff here on 665, and he gets the easy solo kill. Love that execution coming in from 665 to make sure that he gets a free open lane for his top.
Yeah, love the execution coming in from 665, flashing forward preemptively to make sure even if the flash comes out coming in from Kurt, he's still going to be in tether range. Very well done from him, and now he's going to complete the stride breaker.
Whale will pop his cleanse, be safe in that one. K2 gets stunned up. Eminem walks forward with a huge minion wave. And that should be it for the trade. Ultimate for cleanse trade, still a little bit more favorable for the side for Frank. Eminem now dishing out a lot of damage with the Moonlight Vigil. Forces out the Feather Storm from Whale. And that's going to be Frank heading towards uncontested secondary.
Well, you say that.
Yeah,
but still
uncontested might be a little bit optimistic, and Renhao gets caught out. He will flash away and keep himself alive. We have Wen coming in with the Stride Breaker, but he doesn't find the target necessarily right in backline. Pretender will just find the kill onto Wen. That's one down, 1-for-1 apiece. Jungler away from Holo most critically, and that does mean that MFT prevent the Drake.
They will be able to prevent the Drake, but for the side of Frankie Esports, you still have to favor the trade to them ever so slightly, right? Because now you get a little bit more free time in that mid lane. 665 turning his attention towards his bottom lane. So Eminem, he gets a little bit more farm into himself. Pretender gets a little bit more farm into himself. So all in all, the big carries on Frankie Sports, they're the big winners of that trade, even though it is just a 1-for-1.
But have you heard of Fed Nocturne? Maybe that's an angle?
It could be an angle.
Fed Nocturne?
I mean, unfortunately, he's not going for an assassin sort of build. It's a much more of the more common build we see right now is this bruiser focus.
Yeah, it is.
But the issue is, like, Aphelios can very easily 1v1 you. It's not like a Jinx where before she gets excited, you can still 1v1 this champion very, very easily. But in Aphelios, when he gets all his farm, that is very, very tall order.
All right, we'll see if the Fed Nocturne comes into it. I just wanted to egg you on because I'm a Nocturne player myself, and I also like getting fed.
I got a lot of free LP off of playing solo lane Nocturne.
Yeah, he pushes the wave quite easily this time around, and we will see if 665 and his build comes into the calculation right here. It actually hasn't backed just yet, so interesting enough is kind of just parking himself as a cruise missile here in the bottom lane. We'll go back, finally gets his boots too, and ooh, that is bad news for Pretender as Holo accidentally takes away the blue buff.
I mean, we all know Diego is one of those champions that is just really, really mana hungry, so glad that he's able to get himself a blue buff. But, I mean, in this mid lane Pretender, it's not going to be... Yes, he's going to miss out on that extra little bit of mana regen, but it's not like Wen has shown himself to be super active in trying to make his way to the side lane, so I think, honestly, he'll be fine.
Alright, we'll see if that is the case here, but we do have a roam from MFT going into this bottom side that has just been shoving nonstop for Frankie Esports. See if they can find an actual angle of attack right here. Wen still hasn't seen him be particularly impactful. Everfrost does go down for Pretender. Zanya's coming in for Wen, and he will just get away here. You're very excited about that play for some reason.
You know, the best way to get a blue buff if your jungler takes your blue buff is to just get the blue buff from the other mid lane, you know?
True.
And I think that's what Pretender was looking for right there. Unfortunately, stopwatch exists. However, what it also means is that Wen doesn't have stopwatch. So if he gets picked off before the next dragon, which MFT have done repeatedly, he won't have the stopwatch to buy time. But now it looks like MFT, they're trying to make a play over in this mid lane, but that won't come to fruition, and Taco will just kind of walk back up, and maybe they just try and kill Kurt again. Surprise, surprise.
They're going to use the fact that Renhao is here, and they have much stronger soul lanes to start this one off. Still no vision coming in from Frank Esports, so they don't know that this one is happening. Does look like they're going to go for the cross-map trade instead of contesting right here. And with the top lane so low, do you think this one is still going to go top, or are they just going to bring it somewhere else? Let's see.
I mean, given that turret plates have fallen, I would certainly like them to turn their attention to somewhere else. And it looks like they will just immediately turn their eyes towards that mid lane. They should be able to break both mid and top tower tier 1, which is going to be a nice burst of gold. And more importantly, it's kind of the first time they've been able to get any semblance of map control for themselves.
You have the Everfrost here by Pretender. Second charge will go down, and here seems to be the engage, but Kurt drops into Mininar mid-jump, and he doesn't take the full journey right there, and I think very wisely decides not to. In the meantime, we have a free push of Aphelios. Side lane of Aphelios, best of Aphelios, as he gets an extra tower, actually, in the bot side, without anyone noticing.
Yeah, it ends up being a 2-for-2 trade, although MFT, because they know the AD carry is in that bottom lane, they're just going to force their way onto this tier 2.
Is a teleport being channeled right here. They will force their way onto this second tier 2 tower. But with those HP bars, it does mean Frank is in hot pursuit. They should have control over this Drake pit going into it. Yeah, and we only have TP on Wen in this fight, so if Taco goes back, he can't come back to the fight, so he's gonna stay around here. And
yeah,
the angle for MFT, are they really comfortable with giving a third Drake? It's not the third, it's the second, but still,
yeah.
The Drake stack for Frank it's pretty strong at this point.
And Hextech Dragon is pretty good for them, right? Because you just get more spell rotations coming in for this LeBlanc. She just gets more and more opportunities to poke around with QW, QWE, that sort of just coming over walls and just chunking you out. And then the extra attack speed is, of course, very, very helpful for a champion like this Aphelios. So all in all, not a bad trade. MFT, they overforced that mid lane tower take, and because of that, their back timings just kind of match up with right when Frank Esports want to go ahead and take Dragon, so they just get it for free.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. In that sequence, it seems like Frank actually came out the winner. They essentially got an extra TP and an extra Drake throughout the entire trade. Aphelios equalized on the towers, and they get to roll into an earlier Hextech Soul stack, potentially. So, once again, we have talked about this in the past, but MFT definitely one of those teams where they can be a little bit wobbly when it comes to mid-game macro and lane allocations. So far, MFT still not getting all the fights that they want to. I feel like with the strength in 665 and Taco, they're definitely edging for fights. Pretender flies in, nearly takes down. 665 is just dead with the CC combo. Great distortion over the wall right here.
Good turn.
MFT are looking to put
Eminem's really strong. Green-white.
But it seems like this is just a desperation play for revenge. They're leaving Taco out to dry. Let's see if Taco can't survive right this. Hextech Soul into the cutoff. They will find Whale over the wall here. Eminem still holding on to Moonlight Vigil. There he goes. They miss out. Featherstorm goes up. And MFT actually make the miraculous retreat here when going back in. And no, he just gets
Kurt's here now, though.
By Pretender. Oh, Kurt goes in for the 3-man against the wall. And that's the entire team of Meta Falcon being wiped away, just melting into the aether. And Frank Esports find themselves a new Baron.
It's right in time for the Baron buff, Clement. Frank Esports, they just take full advantage of MFT overextending, and now 665. I don't think he can look for a steal here. He has a flash available, but okay, he finds one, but that's it. It is still Bruiser Nocturne, so he can't 1v5 very easily.
We're going to be taking a replay, look at the replay here, but I'm not really
Starts
sure
out
why...
with 665.
I'm not really sure why MFT actually chased this. They lost one member, and that doesn't look like a winning position to me whatsoever, and they still chase.
Right here in this choke, that is basically where the fight was done. Because against green-white Aphelios, you just can't push past it. Because of the turret is just going to load up on damage, and then you're already too far gone. Because the Hextech gates exist. It's just a fast, easy rotation for Frank Esports. They hurt him under their tower, and now Kurt, well, he has Mega Gnar. And it helps that Wen isn't there for the rest of the dive too, because the Trouble Bubble could have potentially thrown a wrench in that plan.
Yeah, you could see the pings that they knew the Gnar was coming, but I feel like Wen definitely overstayed that one. Kind of a weird chase for MFT. We are going to have another fight and another TPB used. Featherstorm already off for Whale. He does not get the Blade Caller to stick Pretender underneath their own tower. They will lose this in the ensuing Baron push. Things are looking it's kind of bleak for MFT. The map is wide open. You're not going to get your two-man game with the Nocturne anymore. And Eminem is also quite fed in this game. How are they going to make it out of this bind?
Yeah, it's definitely not looking very pretty here for the side of MFT. Pretender, he's put onto side lane allocation, and he will be able to shove that side in as they prepare themselves for this next dragon in 30 seconds. Pretender does have that teleport, so you're not concerned about that. And Kurt already in the vicinity anyways, so MFT at the very least, you know, they're all here. Although Wen is backing.
He does just about have his TP up.
Okay.
In terms of the itemization there, we just saw that Pretender is actually a full item ahead of Wen. So Wen pretty much has to get this purchase in before the Drake, or he has no threat. Even walking through Fission, I don't feel like the carries on the side of Frank Esports are really afraid of him at this point, with only 1.5 items being completed here.
Yeah, and I think we're starting to see a bit of a trend with what Wen wants to pick. It's all these champions that can shove the wave early on to make sure 665 doesn't get collapsed upon in his jungle during the early game. But then his mid-game execution kind of falls to the wayside. He's not quite on top of lining up either the back timing or his rotations. And now it's going to be a 5v4 for the time being.
Here comes the Paranoia and the TP. They do catch out K2 though, but he's only the support. And Kurt once again finds a massive two-man Gnar ultimate onto the side wall. When trying to run away, Diego coming in. Low HP bars all across the board. Holo goes forward to find the Winter's Bite and will get another kill. Another wipe coming in for the side of Frank Esports. They lose one and get 3 plus the Hextech Drake.
Man, and MFT, they just get absolutely bodied in that fight. Now, the other thing with Zoe is that she needs to be there at the start of the fight, right? Because she needs to find those early trouble bubbles to get targets chipped down, because if the fight starts right off the bat, you 100% lose that every single time. You need to play these fights a lot slower, but when you have champions like a Silas and the Nocturne, they kind of just want to force the issue. And that's exactly what happens here. MFT, they just go before the Zoe's ready to do any sort of damage, and the pace of the fight is just not in MFT's favor.
Eminem practically untouched throughout all of that fight. He now has a 300 gold bounty on him. I feel like MFT, once again, the objective fights, we haven't seen them actually have good enough execution to pull one off yet this series. That was a fight where they were teleporting the Zoe in, as you said. There was no poke damage being done, and their target selection was also just kind of baffling. They actually had the inside track on that Drake. They had the vision control, and then they engaged on support Leona. I feel like some of that plan was kind of missing. The script wasn't right.
Yeah, now Taco, he could eat a big chunk of burst right there. Pretender already on, well, 3 items.
10 stacks too.
Yep, 10 Magi stacks. So a lot of damage coming out from him, and more importantly, when you do, of course, complete the Magi's, it's another proc on your Mythic, so that is just very cheap and efficient itemization if you are able to just get the upgrade on the Magi.
We do have the Moonlight Vigil coming in once again. Not going to use the Gravitum on that, actually just putting a little bit more damage. And we have Frank Esports kind of pushing MFT away at this point. Wen still trying to find damage, but Pretender by himself is pretty much out-damaging the poke that MFT can provide here. Once again, we're going to have a base defense situation, and in Game 1, this is where MFT started to shine. They found their footing in these 5v5s where it isn't about rotations, it isn't about, you know, TP timings, it's just about good old fisticuffs and going into the brawl. So maybe this is where MFT can find their comeback in this game as well. It doesn't look like Frank Esports are going to give them a chance, though, as they are just hovering around, waiting for that Baron that's about to come up in 20 seconds. Do you think Frank's actually going to push this, or are they kind of happy to just turn around?
Looks like they want to try and push their advantage here, and I think the big target on the side of MFT is Whale on the Xayah pick. If they overextend themselves a little bit too hard, this Xayah, with the amount of feathers she is able to lay out, along with the fact that it's lethality Xayah, she can still do a boatload of damage in these team fights, but unfortunately that's really the only champion that's going to have that sort of burst power. Yes, Taco, he's still going to get items, he's going to get stronger, but he's not quite at that point, and Nocturne is way past his expiration date with this build. And then unfortunately, like, Wen, even though he technically should be able to get more out of the Zoe, the play just hasn't quite lined up to give us that confidence that he can.
We'll see how MFT take this one. We do have the stopwatch being completed here by Eminem, so even if MFT do find him with the initial burst, it's unlikely to keep him down throughout the entire team fight. Frank Esports making a strong push into the red side jungle, and unfortunately for MFT, they just have to cede ground. We do have a split Drake and Baron situation. It's up to Frank to decide which one they want to go for, and it does look like the answer will be the Hextech Soul at this point. Pretender flying in, lands the Everfrost for some damage, and they are now going to head towards the bottom side of the map. Let's see if MFT are going to respond and go for the team fight, or do they even have the potential to go for the Baron? Probably not. Pretender gonna fly in, find the chains, and here is the turnaround fight. Paranoia defensively being used, but he will still fall to the Moonlight Vigil from far away. Wen now trying to find the target. Pretender gets away with less than 300 HP, but he still stays alive. This could be the potential chance for MFT to find something, but Nem is just walking up, and he takes now nearly 2 carries by himself. MFT, they have to scatter in front of the Aphelios. Kurt, definitely presses the wrong buttons there, as he meant to push 665 into the team composition. Doesn't matter, as you said. Pretender with the nice cleanup kill, and Frank
think that's game 2
with the statement. They're just gonna close this one out.
Looks like we're gonna get the same game time here, as well as 29.5 minutes. One last gasp, maybe.
Ooh, that's a great Blade Caller onto 3. Can they keep this fight going? Well, down to 200 HP. Eminem walking back to finish out the Xayah, and that will be game. Frank Esports with another dominating performance where they basically won every single team fight throughout this game.
And it's just the difference of execution coming in from Frank Esports over the side of MFT. And we talk about MFT as being that team fighting squad. Yes, their macro might not be the cleanest, but if they are able to find those 5v5s, that's when they can get those advantages. Unfortunately, like Frank Esports, time and time again, they get man advantages before the team fight happens, and even then, like, MFT falls short in the execution on their rotations. And so far, Frank Esports just 2 steps ahead.
Yeah, if we really think about this game and the main turning points of it, it basically boils down to 2 team fights on the Drake and 1 team fight on the Red. And every single team fight, MFT were just not able to line together a cohesive engage. We saw them going in when they were like basically playing a 4v5, and they started out on K2s, Leona, and the other time I think, yeah, they started out on Leona twice. So it was just kind of baffling. I feel like MFT, once again, very similar to game 1, they had the tools, but not the calls to actually take it into effect.
Yeah, and going back to what we said at the start of the game, right? What was the game plan? Kill Kurt over and over again. What was the fallback plan? Well, I hope they don't fall behind, because if plan 1 doesn't work, then they don't have a plan 2. And plan 1 did work, but they still lost because they didn't have a plan 2 afterwards.
Yeah, do you think they could have done more with the Sylas? He was definitely ahead in his lane, but at the same time, the bottom lane was also winning for Frank, and the mid lane was winning as well. Do you think maybe Taco could have done more from this game, or was it still more of the issue of just the team fights happening too quickly?
I feel like if Wen was on a more 1-3-1 focused champion, maybe a Twisted Fae or an Ahri, someone that can side lane, then you just move the Sylas into the mid lane and you can kind of control the map playing off of your strong Sylas, because he's able to make rotations over to the sides and influence the map a little more. But on the Zoe pick, it's very hard to move the Zoe into a side lane, and we know sometimes Wen does fall behind on the rotations if he gets tossed into a side lane. So it makes it very difficult for MFT to capitalize off of this very strong Sylas pick, and as a result, they just really fizzled out.
This is definitely a little bit, taxing to see, I think, from our viewers' perspective. I personally had a lot of hopes for MFT. Like, we didn't really get to see the best of them just yet, I will say. Like, in the season, we saw them 2-0 Beyond Gaming. They had games that were actually pretty close against CFO in terms of getting all of their tools together, running forward as a team composition. What do you think needs to change here for MFT? Because I feel like, I don't mean in terms of like the comps. I feel like the comps have been fine, but just the shot calling just seems to be really off today for this young squad.
Yeah, I really just, again, like the rotations just quite aren't there yet. I'm not sure how the conversation is behind the scene between games as well. We saw this be a very big ailment in yesterday's games, right? Where Taco and Wen just weren't there for team fights on time consistently, especially Wen. So it's hard to imagine like Firefox, what he's able to do in the background to help Wen make these rotations a little bit faster. But Pretender, he will be the MVP of this game on this LeBlanc, taking full advantage of this mid lane matchup and really influencing the map kind of everywhere at once.
He was so good at just dragging MFT and preventing them from resetting properly, keeping them in fights that I don't think they wanted to stay around for. So great performance by him. You know, he was never caught out when he destroyed once. He was always able to go back, never just stun lock in place. So he was very safe and very pivotal at just making, I feel like, MFT, a lot of their timings were just a mess because of what Pretender could do across the wall right there. So great job on him. And that does mean we are at game point. If Frank Esports can find the next one, they will move on in our lower bracket. So don't go anywhere. We're coming right back after the break.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
avenger. It's not long till I evolve to what I'm meant to be. Hometown prophecy, London reinvented me. Elitists do it properly. MJ would have rocked with me. It feels like a crown, it's the only thing on top of me. Honest things in CD, get high like PG. Guys, it's like Ouija, stay smart like 3Ps. Get fly like ET, live east like E3. I am the only trilogy that beat no repeat. I kill the beat, I slay the beat, I kill the beat, I'm an avenger. I kill the beat, I slay the beat, I kill the beat, I'm an avenger. I kill the beat, I slay the beat, I kill the beat, I'm an avenger. I kill the beat, I slay the beat, I kill the beat. I represent evolution like Charmander. Come through on the mic with a hard banger. Biblical with the bars, I'm the last rapture. I'm Picasso with the pen, this is art grammar. Lightning with the flow, call me for the rapper. I've been through some stuff, you will marvel at my chapter. Loud with the app, but I call it a big bagger. And I'll live with my family, the only thing that matters. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat, I'm an avenger. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat, I'm an avenger. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat, I'm an avenger. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat, I'm an avenger. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat, I'm an avenger. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat, I'm an avenger. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat. I'm an avenger. I'm an avenger. I'm an avenger.
Welcome back to the Pacific Championship Series. Our motto is, this is where legends will rise. And now is the chance for MFT to rise if they want to continue their journey in the postseason. They're down 0-2 against Frank Esports. Before we go in deeper into the matchup, big shout out to CTBC Bank and Caliber for sponsoring this league. Without you, all of this would not be possible. Now, Frank, as our resident person named Frank and also an expert on PCS, what needs to happen as we have MFT going back to the blue side?
MFT going back to blue side, it feels to me that they think this Viego might be the most important pick of this series. We'll see if that actually ends up being the case on their first pick, but when it comes to changing things up, I'd love to see just go ahead, lock in that rise in the first phase. They've kind of left Wen's pick to the second phase, and as a result, he's lost out on that rise. And even in game number 1, he went on the Vex. You know, you saw the potential in the pick, but again, like, didn't end up working out. So I think they just need some sort of bruiser champion for him in that mid lane, just so he can be more gold efficient, I guess, because you know he's going to be somewhat low econ. And it hurts to say, but he's probably like your weak side mid laner. I don't know how that works out, but he's always working from less gold.
I'm just gonna say, if your mid laner is kind of the weak end, you actually end up impacting both sides. So both of your sides become weak sides. So
it's just a void.
I'm not blaming him, but I definitely think that without a strong mid, a lot of strategies do get shut down. And at the very least, I think he needs to pack more utility. That's the most important thing that we've seen from Wen, at least. Like, I think MFT, their most successful compositions is definitely when Wen can actually do the engaging himself.
Yeah. And the one time we saw him last split was when he pulled out Set mid. So, you know, Set is a champion that works on low econ, can start out fights, and is somewhat pseudo tanky. So I'm not saying that he will pick it up, but it's definitely an interesting conversation to bring when we look at Wen's effective champion pool.
He has played a lot of different things. You know, he's gone for the Renekton, he's gone for the Silas and the Akali as well. So it's definitely possible that he could take something out, and to be completely honest, we don't expect him to win the lane against Pretender, but he needs to pack more of a punch, have more of an impact when it comes to mid-lane game. Frank Esports are going to deny that chance. Very similar bans from all of this series. Going to take away the Graves and the Galio. Most likely the Tryndamere going to be taken off the table next. For Meta Falcon team, they are holding on to the same bans as well. Ari and Lee Sin off the table. The Zeri is up from Frank Esports, which is something that we do have to mention. Whale doesn't really play the Zeri, so Frank Esports could be trying to force a ban or take it themselves.
What do you know? We aren't going to see a B1 Viego because MFT are the ones to go ahead and ban it away. That is really interesting because now I really want to see what this first pick will be, because it's not Graves. That's also been banned, of course. Could be a Diana pick 4665, but I definitely wouldn't want to take it on a B1, and it will be the Tryndamere locked in for MFT. Taco getting a big carry opportunity. We'll see how well he does with it.
Definitely a very important pick for MFT, especially when their strategy seems to be just pick on Kurt the entire time. But I feel like Kurt has to have something in the bag to see this coming. Ragus would be a decent answer if nothing else, just to neutralize the lane. Frank Esports will go for more standard draft this time around. Volibear are going to be locked in as Holo fades from Vision. We will see what the second pick is. You know, Jinx, all the AD carries are still up. And Callista, I don't think we've seen this the entire split. Kaisa?
I don't think this is a good pick either.
Well, Frank think otherwise. Where is this one going?
I fully expect this to go into that bottom lane.
Mm.
Although, given that we know Wen isn't a player that will really pressure the lane phase, you can very much get away with the Kaisa into the mid lane. So I wouldn't be surprised if they put it into the hands of Pretender. But MFT now, what will be the answer for them? It will be the Xayah picked up for themselves, and now there it is, the Diana. So we will get to see 665 on probably the hardest carrying champion he has available to him, and that is the Diana pick. So if he is able to get into the back lines, I mean, this could very well change the fortunes of MFT.
This is their bread and butter composition. When MFT was streaking across the league in their first round robin, the Diana plus Renekton composition seems to have been their go-to. For Frank Esports, they're not even going to hide that they have a counter pick for Kurt here. They're just going to go for the Gnar right off the bat. We'll see what the bans come out to be. The Set Diana, the Renekton Diana, a lot of these are very powerful combos that could be taken right here. Also, the engaged supports are still left open on the table, so we'll see what Frank Esports go for right here in terms of the bans. On the other side for MFT, they do have to consider this Kaisa as potentially going mid, potentially going into the AD position. We have seen a couple of Kaisa mids already happen in the league, so it's definitely not impossible. We'll tell by their bans coming in right here. Let's see what they go for. Tom Catch is still on the table again, so that could be another option against a Wombo combo. Oh, they're actually going to ban the Zoe themselves. Interesting.
So they'll go ahead, ban away the Zoe. I guess they go ahead, ban away the LeBlanc as well, unless if they're hoping the LeBlanc falls into their hands, but then you would be double AP. I mean, clearly, if you're trying to pair something up with this Diana pick and you want an AD option, Set would fit the bill because the Renekton did get removed off the table. So, especially into a composition that has Volibear and the possibility of Mega Gnar, I think this is a perfect setup for the Wen Set to just come out. So for Frank Esports, they take away the Rakan for their second ban, and Leona will be the lock-in. So, I mean, this has to be set. You have 3 champions that are just perfect to chuck back into the squad of Frank Esports here.
The Mega Gnar with the extra HP, the Volibear with the extra HP, those are essentially damage tools for Set to suplex into the enemy backline. We'll see if the Set does come in. The only other AD champion I can think of we've seen this split has been the Yone, but we don't have to wonder anymore. It is the Set being locked in right here, and we got what we wanted. Utility and bruisers coming in.
It's Set support.
Oh, sorry. I was a little bit too carried away. Sorry.
Damn.
The combo still works, just from a different position.
It's still a perfect pick here, right? Because you still want to chuck in the Volibear, the Gnar, and it also works very well in lane against the Leona, right? The true damage is going to be able to pierce through any resistances you're getting from that W from Leona. And we get a Corki pick! Yes! PCS Corki isn't completely dead. Actually, it's been pretty much dead. But Pretender on the Corki, very interesting because there's so much range coming in this Frank Esports composition. And if you're MFT, if you find the engage, this comp is nuts. But if you don't find the engage, it's unplayable against Corki Rockets and Kaisa W.
The Russian potential from MFT, the will to just take the enemy team into the banners and suplex them down to the ground. We will see a very cohesive comp, and probably I feel like the strongest comp that we have seen from MFT this entire series. On the other hand, for Meta Falcon, I'm not exactly sure what this comp is supposed to do. I feel like they have a kill lane in the bot, they have Corki that's not going to show up until much later, and then they have a run-of-the-mill Gnar. So once again, I'm not exactly sure what Frank does here.
I'm interested in seeing what kind of build this Kaisa will go for. Lately, we've seen a lot of AP Kaisa. I honestly think AD Kaisa is probably her better option more oftentimes than not. Just because if you go for the AP style, it takes way too long to ramp up. In my opinion, Corki is the better Kaisa. If you want to play AP Kaisa, but on Frank Esports, we have both of them. So this is an interesting composition, but at 3 items, this is very impressive composition from just those 2 champions, just because of how much range and poke that they have against a very all-in composition on the side of MFT. So if they don't find the all-in again, it's not very interactive gameplay coming in from the Corki and the Kaisa.
It could definitely be the case here as we go into the level 1s. Halo Blades being selected by Eminem. They will start off with a bot lane check. Nothing going on here. In the meantime, MFT, just another reminder, they are standing on the precipice. If they drop this game, they will be out of the postseason. So we tend to see teams go for a little bit more cheese in this situation, but they will keep this one relatively safe. Double wards on both sides to make sure Wen gets a good early game. Meanwhile, top lane, Taco finally gets his Tryndamere first time in this series. He's going to get a bone plating right off the bat. Pretty nicely done for him. And can he find this auto attack? We'll get it, but actually loses out on the trade there.
Yeah, with the fleet footwork coming in from the Gnar, that helps out in these trades quite a bit. Although he's still wanting more. I'm not sure if that should be the case, but down in his bottom side, also more trades. As Renhao, I mean, as the set, you're just looking for an early opportunity to just flash in on the AD carry and try and force the summoner trade here, especially with the Ignite. And you are running not the longsword start.
Oh, here we go. The Facebreaker goes down onto Eminem. The flash is down as well. Ignite being spended to force that one. And just as you said, this is the start of what could be a very painful lane for Eminem. I do want to ask you about, like, do you think Kai'Sa's actually has that high of a priority in this patch? It doesn't seem like a lot of our players are deciding to go for blind Kai'Sa, especially with so many options up.
Yeah, in my opinion, like, the only purpose of picking the Kai'Sa is to potentially flex it into the mid lane, but even mid lane Kai'Sa isn't all that good anyways. So, like, my general read is that there's a reason why we never saw Kai'Sa for the longest time. It's because she really isn't that good, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, our AD carries are just all of a sudden picking up this champion, and I think it's even worse in the PCS, where we tend to fight a lot more early on, which is not where Kai'Sa's strong points are with the builds that players are going for, which are 3-item builds.
We do have a Hex Flash right on top of Holo, but he won't find the Facebreaker, and he's getting caught in a very bad position. Ignite goes down. That's going to be the first blood. Wen's here to kind of salvage the situation, but he will not be able to find any more. And Holo is going in for more. We do have K2 with the flash stun over the wall. 665 finds the smite, but can he keep himself alive? Wen will find a comeback kill, and 665 does flash out. Holo with the chase down will get the kill back. Overall, that will be a I think a 1-for-2 trade here. Let's see if Holo can find the Sky Splitter. Ooh, Wen keeps on running very intelligently. And yeah, Frank Esports have a massive lead at the start of this game.
2-for-1 trade.
Renhao might be baiting himself into a bad situation once more, as Holo did not leave the scene. That's the thing about Bears, if they start around. Yeah, he definitely does. And we're going to go into the replay, and unfortunately for Renhao, this first missed Facebreaker seals the deal for them.
Yeah, he whiffs big time there. And the one thing that's interesting is you're trying to invade with a Diana against a Valdebert. And more often than not, that shouldn't go well for you. I can understand why they went for play, right? Because they had bot lane priority. They also have just a stronger bot lane in general. But the Volibear in these dueling situations is just so powerful, and Hollow does a lot of work along with that Leona.
Yeah, there's so much hard crowd control, and it's not on a particularly long cooldown, so Frank Esports definitely had to chase down Edge right there, able to capitalize and taking stock of the items. We do have the Caulfield's Warhammer completed here by Eminem, and just a very smooth transition in for Pretender as well, into the Call and the Tier. So it does look like the scaling game that you mentioned earlier on is definitely being started here by Frank Esports, and it's always kind of scary when you have a smooth scaling game. If the scaling team wins early, then the game kind of feels over.
Yeah, at the very least, though, MFT do have some scaling options of their own. Obviously, it's very different sort of scaling, right? They have a lot of dive scaling with the power of Tryndamere and the Diana. If they're able to get onto these backline carries, they will absolutely devastate them. But it also works both ways, right? If the backline is able to stay alive, they will devastate the side of MFT.
Polo
now
seems
more
to
fighting.
be the target here. 665 goes in. A
Pretenders
fake
here.
Realm Warp, and they do find the jungle kill back. A straight 4v4 fight. They are winning here. Eminem has to run away. Pretender is driving away from the scene as well, and they leave their support to die. They do take down one Drake, but the cost might have been a little bit steeper than they wanted to pay.
Hey, and MFT, what do you know? Wen is there early. He's there for a fight at the start of the fight, and you can see when he does arrive, then they find success. And that ends up being a 2-for-none trade. Yes, Frank Esports are able to get the dragon, and that's, you know, sort of the main takeaway for them anyways, because on a scaling composition, the biggest thing you are worried about is what if they end up finding that quick 3 dragons and force you into that Dragon Soul fight when you're not ready or prepared for it. But they are able to, at the very least, secure this first dragon, and we'll see the replay. It's Hollow getting chunked out by Cloud, which does do a lot of damage,
warp.
has the highest attack speed. And
This Realm Warp is so sweet.
yeah, you end up cutting off Frank Esports from their jungler with that Realm Warp, that then you're able to just collapse onto Hollow. And Hollow, I think he also understood that he was going to die there, so he ends up going deeper to try and create a little bit more space, and hopefully the rest of the team able to get out.
Really nicely played by Wen, and I feel he has so much more impact on this Rise compared to other champions. Great call by Nightstar here on just having him pick this mid laner a little bit earlier. Meantime, taking a look at the situation, we do have Pretender being forced into a rather early Hex Drinker here. A bit more defenses than he perhaps would want to. Renhao being caught in a bit of a pickle, has to burn the W early, flashes over the wall. He does have the flex flash, and oh, here comes a Stormbringer, massive amounts of damage. Well, going to use the Feather Storm, but he doesn't get to use the Blade Collar as he gets taken out. In the meantime, 665 will get a Herald for his troubles, but what a clean pickup for Frank.
Yeah, I mean, that was also a level 6 Volibear, right? So, not much MFT's bot lane could have done in that situation. Now 665, like, Kurt, he has to crash this wave to kill as many minions as possible.
665 incoming. The Undying Rage is popped right here. Let's see, can Taco survive this tower shot? Oh, falls down in the end. Kurt does find the 1-for-1 trade, but this should be the top tower going down.
Honestly, really the best result Kurt could have asked for. He burns his flash, yes, but Taco burns all both of his summoners, and he also burns the Diana flash, which is probably her biggest team fight tool, as we get to see the replay on what transpired in that bot half of the map. Renhao forced to use the Facebreaker very early on. means that he doesn't have the extra durability for the rest of this dive, and Whale does go down because there's just not a lot of playability against a level 6 Volibear that just turns off your tower.
Yeah, very interesting trade by Will. He actually flashes forward to try and find the trade on Eminem. It doesn't end up working for him. It's probably a dead man either way, so, you know, good attempt, I would say. And in the meantime, I feel like this game state is super interesting because I feel like both teams have actually gotten what they wanted. The scaling portions are doing fine, but in the meantime, MFT are packing a lot of damage. Here comes 665, already 4 takedowns, but he misses the Q. Can he get the combo in? Undying Rage not there for the Tryndamere. 665 has to run away with his tail between his legs, and Frank Esports are looking for a second kill, but 665 is dancing around. He gets 1 kill. Oh, no. Can he find the other one? Oh no! Polo is able to secure the kill at the very end, but that was so damn close. 665, his Moonfall was still there. We do have another fight in the bottom lane here as well. K2 looking for the kill. Whale has to jump up into the air. Suplex goes down onto him, and Frank, they will lose the first member, but it will be the 80 carry that stays alive on the side for Eminem. Can Renhao chase him down for more? His Facebreaker is about to be up. He gets the pull, but there's still another cleanse. W goes down. One more auto attack. He can't fight it, and the W takes it down. Eminem with the double kill. He's now 4-0-0.
Oh, baby. Eminem with the smooth moves. Renhao taking a tower shot at the end, but when he wants this final kill, he wants that shutdown.
Can Eminem find a potential execution? Oh, he gets tagged in the cubby. Well, he is a goner. That's 700 gold over towards Wen's side. But Frank are going to make them pay. Holo comes in. The big magic. Mufa onto 2. Doesn't matter. He died before the damage even comes through. Whale will try to salvage the situation. Pretender flashes out. And that will be all for now. Frank Esports managed to claw back another kill for their dead Eddie carry.
But that's a big shutdown going into the hands of Wen, and Wen, he has been given a big opportunity to carry the game. He is 3-0 and on his trademark Rise pick. He's going to have the ability to carry this game now, especially with that extra shutdown gold. A lot of acceleration in his build path. He has now the Everfrost completed, 665. We get to see how this ends up transpiring, and I mean, he jumps in onto the crab, and that's when Hollow says, okay, you're all mine, and there's a package coming in behind, and that makes for easy collapse. So I love, I mean, overall, I enjoy quirky pickups, even though it has been nerfed. The package is just still so powerful.
Yeah, you can coordinate those cross-map chase downs so easily with this champion, and it definitely caught 665 off guard here. I think we're holistically looking at the game so far. MFT still have so much unlocked potential as we have another fight starting on here. But Eminem can join from almost any angle as he does find the Void Seeker. He has to fly right in top of Whale, though, and Whale punishes him big time. Wen also closes off the trap, and that's just 3 people into the maw of MFT.
I don't know what happened.
People are at a loss for words.
What?
They just overchased.
That was really, really bad. And this is not what AP Kaisa is good at. This is also a Kaisa that didn't have the Q evolution as well. So no bonus execute damage coming in from the Q. And K2, he goes in wanting to make the play, but Eminem, he ults right in the middle of everyone. So even if they aren't targeting the Kaisa, he just still gets hit by all the AoE damage anyway, so he just gets blasted out of existence.
Taco with a very, very short E is still able to walk out of that with his ghost, but gotta say that was kind of funny watching that transpire. Totally agree with you on that fight. That was a bit lackluster from Frank Esports. First off, Eminem flies over on the angle right in front of a Featherstorm and Moonfall. Like, that's not where you want to be if you're an AD carry. And I also feel like they had really unrealistic expectations of Pretender. Like, they wanted Pretender to join and somehow walk past Gwen when he's 4-0 and 2. And I was like, yeah, that's not happening.
Absolutely. And now this is going to be tricky coming in from the side of Frankie Sports, because now you're very much loaded on magic damage. Corki, Volibear, Leona, and the Kaisa are very heavy magic damage focused, especially with this Kaisa build. That if you look in the inventory of this Rise, he already has that Megatron cloak, so this Rise isn't going to be taking a whole lot of damage. When he gets that Force of Nature, it's going to be so difficult to take this champion down. And then you also look at Whale. He is going for the crit build rather than the lethality build. So there's so much scaling power already on MFT that is online.
This is getting super hairy for Frank Esports. The first time we've seen MFT ever surge to a 3,000 gold lead in the entire series. So MFT have to be feeling pretty good about this one. And for Frank Esports, I think you mentioned it, you know, this is still not their time. They need to wait even longer. The Mura Manas are not online, and MFT get to do whatever they want, especially with this extra Herald here on the map. When do you see Frank Esports being able to strike back? It looks like they're very far away from that point.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult to say. They can play off of the combination of Meganar and the package, but that also needs them to line up the timings just right. And if they do play around the package, that could be a big opportunity, right? Because that also provides the extra CC to make things easier for the Kaisa to shoot on into the back line. But just comes down to trying to slow the game down just a little bit. But the issue is when you slow the game down, you also allow this Tryndamere to really warp the side lanes. And because Wen is super far ahead as well, he's just a massive threat in the side lane as well. So right now, the 1-3-1 is going to stretch Frankie Sports pretty thin. And while Kaisa has the potential to follow up on sort of these side lane setups, again, you're not AD Kaisa.
It's gonna go for the AP builds here as well, and we do have the Fimbulwinter done already here from Wen. Most likely headed toward the Force of Nature, as you were mentioning. And this is such a different game. They have the 1-3-1 comp on the side for MFT. They also have the Wombo combo from their I think the most familiar comp that they've executed so far this season. And for Frank Esports, they're just waiting to scale. Like, I'll be honest, I've seen some pretty crazy stuff come from the Corki. So I'm not losing hope completely that this could still be a 3-0. But, man, I feel like the timers just have to be adjusted. This is going to be more of a 35-minute game if Frank wants to have any chance. Taco will walk into a stun, a Corki, an M&M, and a K2. I think he's a dead man. It's just about how much else Meta Falcon team can get on the other side of the map. Looks like they will be able to take down at least one tower for it. But in the meantime, Frank, this is a great play for them. And it looks like a 1-for-1 trade in terms of towers, and also an extra kill here. MFT have to take more if they want to equalize.
Yeah, they could get the inhib here, and they...
Here comes the
they want the fight?
Moonfall. Actually, to fight, fake
6,
out.
6,
They get Kurt, and they're going in for more.
Renhao.
But Renhao is being left to his own devices right here. It seems like he might have overstepped, but he will flash out.
Oh, okay.
That's
Able
really
to actually
cool move.
survive that. That's massive for MFT. So it ends up just being a one... Was that a 1-for-1 trade? Because Taco ended up dying on the side. So it ends up being 1-for-1, and they get Dragon, but they also get the additional tower. So all in all, MFT able to find momentum here in game number 3. it's not too late because the series is still going on, and at the very least, they have shown up.
That was absolutely huge for them. They equalize the trades, and they also get the Drake stack, which means that Frank Esports, they're not going to be given a chance to play a 35-minute game. This is 30-minute do or die. You have to answer the Ocean Soul, and Ocean Soul is actually very strong in a 1-3-1 composition as well. So I think that was, a massive play, and I also have to commend, again, just kind of the surprise factor using the Realm Warp as a fake out. It's like, we're going out. Nah, never mind. Actually, Moonfall straight onto your face.
I think that was also a little bit unscripted because it didn't look like the rest of the team was quite ready to follow up. But when 665 gets that Diana pick, like, it just gives him so much flexibility. He can kind of dictate his own plays and still buy time because he has the Rocket Belt and the Zanya's Hourglass. So he's able to make plays, but also buy time for his team to then respond.
Definitely has been the case so far. He's able to just go in, stay alive for a long time. Probably chase away the backline, as you mentioned. Now Frank Esports, they are running out of towers to clean onto. MFT also know K2's positioning, so they could just swoop in here against Holo. They're setting up the trap. Here comes the Realm Warp. Here comes Taco with the poultry shout. 665 goes in, finds the moonfall onto Eminem, but he dies first. He does complete the trade in the end, but they are losing members. Most crucially, the jungler is gone, so Baron's not going to get taken right here. Frank hold on, and they're looking for more. They find Wen too, and this is disaster for MFT. They're losing their edge. Renhao goes down, and Frank Esports, even down 5,000 gold, they find the comeback.
And it comes from that item spike. Yes, it was a bit of a positional blunder coming in from MFT, but you look at their carries, they are somewhat online. They have both the Ludens and the Muramana completed now. We'll go and see the replay. And I mean, this Realm Warp, they want to try and collapse onto Eminem, but then they stick themselves in this choke point. 665 gets bursted immediately. I don't think he wasn't even able to use the stopwatch or the hourglass in that situation, and now all of a sudden they're just missing their main damage source. So the rest of these kills, just extra gold on top for Frank Esports, and it's a double kill for this Gnar. And the game plan should have been just for this series, bully Kurt over and over again. But so far, Kurt has really stood tall in this series.
Yeah, that was amazing cutting coming in from Frank Esports. I thought the collapse was great from Meta Falcon team, but they forgot about Corki. Corki's starting to come online. They didn't find the damage to go through Holo. Pretender gets to stay safe the entire fight. And if he's raining rocket barrages on you for, I think even just giving him like 8 seconds, your team is just going to evaporate. So MFT, they have to learn their lesson in that one. They have to find those decisive fights onto the backline. They can't just over chase in that situation. And I don't know. I feel like maybe Frank Esports has been able to stem the tide here. Unless MFT find Baron pretty soon, I feel like Frank Esports are going to be able to weather this.
Right now, they are sitting in a very comfortable position. And Eminem has the evolutions online here. Renhao clearing out some wards. The only evolution missing still is that extra attack speed, and because he has gone for the sword boots, it's going to take him a lot longer to get that online. And we'll even see if he goes for that, or if he just goes for the full siege build, because it does look like it will be difficult for him to weave auto attacks into that composition of MFT. So the poke build might be more effective in this case.
I do think that is the correct path here. MFT, they still have a sizable lead in the gold. They can still go for the Drake stacking strategy, and they do also have vision control. So they're not in a bad spot, but they're definitely rattled We'll see how they take this one. I think both teams don't want to give up on these objectives. We also have the package from Pretender, so he has that extra dash to get away from people, to sever the team fight. And here we have MFT actually starting out on the Baron. They're trying to trade these objectives away, but this is right in front of Holo. He still has his Stormbringer here. It's going to be a 50-50 on the Baron, traded away for nothing, and MFT back out. They lose the stare down, and they're also going to lose even more gold on these towers. They have to go in. Pretender already used his package. Taco coming in for the collapse. Can 665 find the angle? He gets slowed down by Leona, and Frank aren't able to walk away from this. Taco even has to burn his Gale Force just to get away. So Frank, they come up huge on all sides.
Yeah, and they should be able to burn this mid lane tower down as well. Or at least it should, unless if MFT, they want to stick around. Okay, it does look like they will be able to deter Frank Esports from forcing the issue any further. But Frank Esports, I mean, they are hitting their sweet spots when it comes to the items at this point in time. And yes, you do have the crit Xayah coming online, which is incredibly powerful as well. And Taco, he's starting to get to that breakpoint as well once he gets to a third item. But I mean, like Renhao, this is a very fake set. His itemization is very, very poor, has a lot of armor against pretty much a full AP composition. He's not going to last very long in these fights.
Yeah, and Taco might be facing the same situation here as Kurt does have him out-leveled. MFT has this fixation on this Baron, but this time around Holo is nowhere near the scene. Frank Esports, though, will pop 2 ultimates. K2 unfortunately misses most of his engage, but they find the poke on the backline out of nowhere. They take Whale down. Double sums up, and he still dies. Frank have found the turning
point. They can't get through the choke.
They're taking down the Baron. They have the wards down. 665, he's trying to find the angle, but he can't get it. Trindamir's also not joining. Frank Esports, they found the critical point in the game. They have that poke online, and they can rain down hell on you from so far away.
Yeah, and I mean, Renhao, he can't ever play the game. He can't approach in these fights because, again, his itemization is really, really poor. He doesn't have any magical resistance to endure any of this poke. So if one Void Missile or one Corki Missile lands onto him, that's pretty much half of the HP gone. With the Ludens, with also the Void Staff completed, there's just so much burst damage coming in from just one of these poke tools. As we get to see the replay, okay, Taco just beats down on a Meganar, and right when we pan back, it's just a Void Seeker landing onto a Whale. It's just unplayable at this choke point. With Corki marking that choke point, you can't ever get through.
So I do want to ask you, do you think MFT made the right decision in trading potential Baron for Drake? I just can't help but feel like when you're up 3,000 gold, you have this comp, you have full vision control, you should not be going for the secondary objective. You should, you know, just make your stamp on the game.
Yeah, and now Taco,
Taco here, though. He wants to go and find, but he doesn't get the Undying Rage, and he just dies. That pretty much means the flank is going to collapse. Eminem is completely untouched here. He will just take down the aggressors, and Frank Esports beat back this engage with ease. Whale has nowhere to go. The tower is not there to help him. Holo coming in. That's the double kill.
I think
Frank
that's
Esports get the ace, and they will move on. Nothing here to stop them from just taking the win anymore.
Yeah, it takes a while to take that first tower down because of the extra resistances of the minion being out of range, but now with the extra Baron minions coming in, that should be it. Frank Esports secure themselves a very, very convincing 3-0. And MFT, the respawns, maybe they get one last fight.
Renhao goes in, but he doesn't find a stun onto anyone. Taco trying to get Pretender. He does have the Undying range. One more out of the attack, and he does do it. 665! He's up now. Wen is here too. The game might not be ending right here. It's a 2v4, now a 4v3 as Will comes back in. Kurt finds the knockup back onto only one person, but he does walk out still
Such
alive
low health
here.
bars.
If Eminem finds the poke though, things could change. MFT will escort Frank Esports away, and they will hold on for now.
Oh, the game still goes on, Clement, but whew, could just be the final gasp. As we will see the replay, the flank coming in from Taco. He tries to collapse onto this backline, which is very squishy, but no magic resistance, which means you eat 2 instances of poke and you're dead. Renhao, I mean, the rest of this fight is just a formality, right? Because they are just so split, and you have a crit Xayah. If you're not playing around crit Xayah, she doesn't get to do a whole lot. And yeah, we saw right there.
A little bit tragic for the Tryndamere. Oh, I think we underestimated how quickly Frank Esports could actually get this composition online. Just so much damage pouring out here. That was one Cannon Barrage taking 60% of the HP off of Taco there, and this might be Frank's final push in this series. They're heading into the base. MFT, they're looking for an engage, maybe a chance to pick someone off before the others can congregate. They're not going to be given that chance, and now they have to defend a naked Nexus with hell raining down upon them. Pretender, with his range and his damage, is just forcing Whale away from the minion wave. There goes K2, 665, taking down half HP. Renhao even lower. Here comes MFT, the Realm Orb in to find the kills, but they don't get
they find
Pretender.
Eminem.
They find Eminem though, that's one down. Wen is still alive for now, but the stun does come down. He gets taken out. 665 running away from his life as well. And Whale, now the only one left with the damage to try and turn the ship. He does find one.
Nexus.
K2 misses the stun, and Pretender wants to go in for some extra kills. He picks up the triple and the 3-0 to close out the game for Frank Esports.
And this will be the 3-0 for sure here. Frank Esports will lock it down, let the minions do the rest of the work for them, and I mean, I was very, very shocked at how dominant this Frank Esports squad looked in this series. I predicted a 3-2, not because I didn't have confidence in Frank Esports to win this series, but rather they've been streaky during the split, and I think the extra 2 weeks certainly helped, but I didn't expect the extra 2-week preparation to help this much.
Yeah, I feel like they really nailed down their fundamentals. Frank, coming into this one, we had 2 unproven players on their roster in both Pretender and Kurt, but I think they played on the exact same level, maybe even higher than the rest of their team here. So, you know, most of the worries that we had for Frank Esports this split, they were gone. They were cohesive. Their rookies looked very, very sharp compared to what Meta Falcon team was able to muster right here, and they take down a well-deserved 3-0. On the other hand, for Meta Falcon team, I think we saw signs of life here. This was unfortunately going to be the end of their split. I think they've been a very interesting team, a fun team to watch here, but unfortunately, this is where the road does end off for them. So I do kind of want to get your thoughts on this team and the performance overall this split.
I think this was a team that when 665 was given the opportunity to carry, he had some of those moments, especially in this game, given the Diana pick, which is a pick we haven't seen a whole lot from him because it either gets banned or he actually doesn't lock it in. But this time he finally locks it in, and he had a lot of impact, and I would love to see how they develop as a squad going into next split. If perhaps, since this is a collegiate squad, I don't expect them to just pick a player necessarily off the streets or any of that, just trialing, but maybe they find a couple more collegiate players in their university to bring into the team, and maybe the development helps push this team forward, because I think this team needs a little bit more internal competition to push themselves mechanically.
MFT, I feel like we've seen the best of them in this series, but also some of the pitfalls of this squad for sure. The cohesion, the team compositions, really fun, explosive wombo combos that they can pull off, but also a lot of the macro issues still plagued them. And I think in general, the champion pool were not the deepest out of the PCS rosters coming into this one. So, hopefully MFT will strengthen up and we will see a better form of them in Summer Split. We can take a look at the game graph. MFT actually had a very solid lead this game, but unfortunately, I think they overextended in that one big fight, and that was all the time Frank actually needed to claw the game back.
Yeah, and Frank Esports were really able to utilize the poke tools that were given to them, right? You have the Corky rockets and the Kaisa missiles, and if you compare those two champions, like, they just did so much more damage than anyone over on the side of MFT. Even this Rise that got super far ahead, he did less than 9k damage. That is less than the damage given by the Volibear.
Yeah, they just couldn't find any of the backline. I feel like Frank Esports kept their formation so well in a lot of these team fights, and they also just had better macro decision overall. I still question if MFT should have gone for like the Baron and Drake trade, but on we move towards the MVP. Eminem, with his early blind pick Kaisa, makes it work out, goes for the AP build, and finds the critical snipe down right in front of Baron to extend the game for his team to scale out. And beautiful damage numbers here, 33%, with an insane amount of damage to gold efficiency, over 200.
Very, very efficient with his damage numbers, and I mean, this is AP Kaisa in a nutshell. Yes, he had that one big oopsie behind the Dragon Pit, right, where he ulted on to the back line around that red buff and just gets instantly one shot. But once the AP Kaisa build comes online, he doesn't really ever have to use that ultimate anymore, except to peel for himself. So he could just press W over and over again. And in these ARAM situations, you see the ARAM champions of Corky and Kaisa come out on top over and over again.
Yeah, it's incredibly beautiful stuff coming in from this one. And I just think Frank has just surprised us all with how far they've grown since the spring split has ended in the regular season. We are going to be taking a break right now, but don't go anywhere. We have some interviews coming up later.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
Your family.
shake it. I'll shake your knees until you bleed and take it slow. Lover boy, I know. Heaven is where you take me, but hell sounds like more fun. Yeah, I make it hardcore, hurt more. What else did you take me for? Outlaw, so flood, make you doubt the things you saw. Hey, don't you know I'm cold? I'm hail, snow. Yeah, that's how I roll. I make it hardcore. I make it hardcore.
好的，欢迎来到我们的赛后采访环节，我是主持人 Rachel，然后当然要恭喜 Frank Esports 战队赢下今天本场的比赛。Hey guys, and welcome to the post-match interview. Of course, I'm Rachel. Here with me today is none other than Frank Esports mid laner Pretender. Pretender, can you introduce yourself? 那今天邀请到了我们再来到我们的赛后采访，就是 Frank Esports 中路选手 Pretender， 先跟大家打个招呼吧。
Hello， 我是 FAK 的中路 Pretender。
Of course, congrats on getting the smooth 3-0 victory today. I have to ask, did you expect the series to go so well? 那首先就是恭喜你们轻易的以3-0的成绩拿下今天的比赛，想问就你现在的感受会是如何呢？
还蛮开心的。
He said he's pretty happy. So I want to ask about this a bit more in detail because during the regular season in the 2 rounds, of course, you guys went up against MFT twice and you went 1-1. But the time that you guys lost to MFT was just 2 weeks ago. So I want to ask, in this short amount of time, in this last 2 and 3 weeks, how exactly did the team make all of these changes to let you guys have such a smooth 3-0 victory today? 那想就是再仔细的聊一下，就是关于例行赛的时候，你们对上 MFT 的那个战绩就是1-1，可是输的那一局就是才只是2周前的事情。那想问，就是你们的战队就是在这短短的期间内是做了什么样的调整呢？就是让你们今天能够这么轻易的拿下这3-0？
因为上次我们队 BP 出了点问题，然后导致打野太弱势，然后一直被入野，所以这次就选一些比较强势的打野，保住前面的发育，这样。还有在运营的方面就做出了一些调整，然后打得比较顺畅，这样。
So he said that why the last time that when they were facing off against MFT, where they went wrong during that game, he said was mainly because of problems in the picks and bans phase. He said that they kind of messed up their BP by picking champions such as weaker side junglers, and when they were playing in that game with a weaker jungler, it kind of just messed up the entire flow. They weren't able to get pressure or an advantage that time around. So the way they did things different during the playoffs was, of course, they switched around their BP. Today, especially, they went for those more aggressive early game junglers as well, and they were able to play a lot better with that. So the next question I want to ask is that in that game number 1, when MFT chose to not ban the Ahri and you guys were able to pick that champion, because the casters mentioned as well that during the regular season, one actually hasn't really shown a lot of champions that are good to face off against Ahri and lane. So I wanted to ask, was the fact that you guys picked this Ahri more of the fact that she's stronger in the patch right now, or is it something that you did specially versus MFT and versus when? 那接下来问题想问的就是 MFT 那个第一把是把阿里给放出来了，然后主播他好像是 Tommy 也是就有提到，就是问他是这赛季就是他的角色池的话，他并没有很多就是很好打对线很好打阿里的那些角色，所以想问就是你们第一把会选择用那个阿里，是因为他现在是在版本中很强的一个角色吗？还是就是特地用来针对就对面中路的角色？
没有，单纯就是我们觉得阿里的优先度比较高，所以就首选这样。 就
嗯，
版本最强势的中单，觉得是。
你们有预测到就是他们会把阿里给放出来呢？
有预想过，但也有预想被 ban。
So he said that they weren't actually thinking too far. They weren't really thinking so much of trying to pick Ari deliberately versus Wen because didn't have a good counter. What they really just picked her because she's strong right now. They weren't really expecting her to actually be let through during the picks and ban phase, but the fact that it was let through meant that they just instantly wanted to pick it because she's so good in lane right now. And they kind of didn't expect Ari to be let through, but they also weren't too sure what MFT was going to do. So the next question I want to ask, it's about game number 2. When Hollow was trying to give you the blue buff, but there was that little mistake where his red buff actually took the buff instead, and you weren't able to get blue as LeBlanc. What was the communication like at that point? Can you explain? 接下来想问的就是关于第二把，就是就是关于红 buff 的那时候，就是 Hollow 本来是想让那个没有，他是本来想让那个蓝 buff 给你，结果被他自己的红 buff 给烫死了。然后之后也看到 Pretender 在游戏内也亮出了那个哭的表情，想问你们可以解释一下那时候情况吗？
就团练试过蛮多次，就亮个表情就算，没办法，一滴血我也控制不了。
So he said that it's something that they practiced a lot during their scrims, actually. But I mean, the fact that he just wasn't able to get blue buff, then it was just down to so little health is not something that he can control. So it happened. He just moved on and he just used the crying emote and they just went on with it. So I want to ask, usually within the team, after your teammates or you yourself make this type of small little mistake, what is the reaction usually from your teammates? So do you guys like kind of BM each other first, or do you guys just let it slide? 那想问，就是通常就出了这种小失误之后呢，队友会有什么样子的反应？就是是不是会先气愤一下吗？还是其实大家并不会那么的介意呢？
没有很介意，就笑一下就没了。
He said that they don't really mind too much. They just kind of like laugh about it and then they move on. So that's great. That's a healthy type of team relationship that you like to see. I want to ask also that right now your performance as well as your top laner are particularly outstanding. I want to ask who's the main shot caller on your team. 那目前对上就是你还有上路表现是相当的亮眼，就想问一下，就是队内现在主 call 会是由谁发起的呢？
基本上都是由打野辅助跟 AD， 然后因为他们就比较有经验，就 call 的会比较准确，然后我可能就比较听 call 这样。
So he said that usually the 3 people who are doing the main shot calling for the team will be their jungler, their support, as well as their AD. He said because the 3 of these members for FAK have more experience than the rest of them, and whereas for him, especially compared to him, he has less experience, and he's more of the type of player to just listen to his teammates' calls and listen to them. He says that the 3 of them have more accurate calls. Usually when they make the call, they're right. Great. So next, I want to ask, and this question also is from our English caster because I'm not sure if a lot of our other audience do know about this, but Nightstar, his name is Frank. So, you know, since your team became a thing at the start of spring season, and when there was that announcement that came up, I'm pretty sure he's been backing this team since the start. He wanted to ask for your next match, are you more looking forward to playing PSG or DCG? 那最后一个问题想问的就是就是我们英文台的赛品Nightstar， 它的名字其实是 Frank， 所以其实呢就是FAK 你们官宣之后到现在，就是他一直都有在支持你们的这支队友，毕竟就名字一样吧，所以这问题是由他来问的。他是想就是你们在接下来的晋级赛中比较希望碰上 PSG 呢，还是 DCG 呢？
应该是比较希望碰到 DCG 的，因为 至少1胜1负嘛，然后打 PSG 就被打得蛮惨，就太强了，打不赢。
So he said that between PSG and DCG, of course, the team would rather face off versus DCG, especially looking at their regular season results. They went 1-1, and he thinks that they do have a chance versus DCG. Whereas versus PSG, they're too hard. He thinks that the team can't win versus them, so he would rather see DCG in the next round of playoffs. All right, thank you so much, Pretender, for the interview. Of course, good luck for the rest of playoffs.
好的，那非常感谢 Pretender 接受今天的赛后采访，当然也要祝 Frank Esports 下周加油。好的，那接下来就是直播台喽。
谢谢。
I have to agree with Pretender. I'm not looking forward to facing PSG or DCG either. These are some very, very tough teams going in. And, I think Rairachu, great interview, put up a great point. Frank, or Nightstar, you have been, supporting this team this whole way through. I want to ask you, where do you see this team going? And have they, exceeded your expectations so far?
I mean, I would love to see this team at Worlds, just so,
there we
Frank
go.
at Worlds. That way I can be at Worlds too without being at Worlds. But honestly, they can certainly make a push for top 4 next split, right? I'm not sure if they'll be able to do it this split, but with extra development, this team has grown a lot with time, right? This team right now looks way different from what we saw at the start of the split, where they were just all over the place. And I think if they get that extra time during the off season, this could very well be a top 4, perhaps even a top 3 if things work their way.
Yeah, we had a discussion before the series actually started, and you and I both agreed top 4 seemed very reasonable with Beyond Gaming, or maybe even, DCG taking a little bit of slide with their very monotone playstyles being figured out. It's certainly possible for Frank Esports to go up on ahead and take over their spots. But to get a little bit more of the playoff picture, we do have to take a look at the bracket right here as, I love it when we sing so well together with production. Tomorrow's games will be Impunity versus Beyond Gaming. That's happening on M4, as we did have Beyond Gaming suffering a 3-1 defeat at the hands of DCG, and all the remainder of the games will be played in the next week. Not all the remainder, but the remainder games will be played from the topside bracket next week. We are going to have a very extended playoff run all the way to the 17th. So after you've watched the LCK finals, don't be in a panic. We still have got you covered. There's plenty of games you can watch with the PCS here.
Yeah, and I mean, tomorrow's game, well, we haven't seen Impunity in a while, and BYG, as you mentioned, looking a little bit monotone with their playstyle, but is it enough for Impunity to capitalize? That'll be really the big test tomorrow. But overall, Frank Esports in a dominating fashion, that really shifts a little bit how I see the rest of the bracket going through. If it is DCG, Frank Esports could take the series with how dominating they did look in this current form.
They did look cleaner than DCG, I will say for sure, but I think DCG might have faced a little bit stiffer competition. Yes. Not sure. We will find out next week about Frank Esports' fortunes, but don't forget, tomorrow we still have one more day of playoffs on Sunday. Beyond Gaming versus Impunity coming right towards you. This has been a great cast with you, Nightstar. I've had a total blast watching the playoffs so far in the PCS, but it is goodbye for now, not forever. See you guys tomorrow.